of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning, everybody. We have quite a full house here today. I anticipate that a number of you are here for a singular reason, and that's wonderful. It's good to see everybody turn out. A couple of points of house business today. Number one is that Darius has, along with Brad's help over here, they've been working on our sound system. And so hopefully today, if you are a regular attender to these meetings, you notice an appreciable difference in the sound quality. And and they will be working with that and manipulating that throughout the day. We have a new remote control board, and Brad's back there working with it right now to balance this all out correctly. So hopefully it's a big improvement over what we've seen in the past. Second order of business that I want to address before we get into the regular agenda is there are 4 ballot initiatives that were not ballot initiatives, actually they're advisory questions that I proposed that we put on the ballot. We've gotten some feedback from our legal counsel, and there are some language changes that would be required. Apparently, I guess I'm not fully impartial, I guess. So anyway, there are going to be some changes that will be required there, and there will not be a yes or no vote on that today, is my understanding and my impression from our council consultation. So if you are here for those measures, for those ballot questions, advisory questions, to discuss those, you still be free to hang out and participate in citizen comments, but I want everybody to be aware that any actual substantive discussion on those is going to be, the relevancy is going to be somewhat compromised by the language, because the language that's on those now is not what it's going to be when we actually have that discussion later on, is what my anticipation is. So I'll just put that out at the beginning so that you're not sitting here for 2 hours and then frustrated because you don't have a chance to relevantly comment. So fair enough? Very good. Thank you all again, and let's get right into the agenda on item 3A, semi-annual report from the Visitor and Convention Bureau. Commissioner Maine.
Okay. Introduce yourself for everyone, please.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Janice Longman. I am the Executive Director of the Coos Bay, North Bend, Charleston Visitor and Convention Bureau, and it's my pleasure to bring our semi-annual report here today.
Good morning, Janice.
Good morning. So I wanted to start with a slide that I get from the Destination International organization that talks about the importance of the visit. So when you have a visit from somebody, you are creating a place where they want to visit. Because you've created a place that you want to visit, you've now created a place where people want to live, so the quality of life. You've built a place where people want to work, because if they live here, they need to work here. And you've created a place where businesses want to invest. It all goes back to the visit. So when you've got enough businesses for people to enjoy, they visit. So this is an interesting graphic that we get, and I just wanted to illustrate how important the visit is. So Bobby, if you would switch slides.
Did it not go?
Whoever has something playing, I hear something playing back here. Could you please silence your phone or whatever is making that sound?
It was the speakers.
It's not coming from the audience.
It's not coming to the audience, it's feeding over the system. So obviously, we're going to be working out some bugs here, so we apologize for that. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, might be it. Might be somebody online. They're all silent. All right. Sorry, Jen.
Well, I'd go on, but my slide hasn't changed yet.
Well, I think Bobby's occupied trying to make sure that everybody online is silent, so we don't have that issue.
Right. Oh, that's okay. Oh. We froze up a little bit. But
Can you speak about Monet a little bit?
oh, you know, I would love to. There's some lovely paintings in the art gallery at the art museum in Coos Bay. If everybody, now not a Monet, I don't believe, but there are some exhibits happening there.
I thought you were going to talk about the Louvre.
Well, that too. Yeah, I love their pyramid. So I guess I could just I didn't bring my slides with me, so I'm not exactly sure where I am in this, but I will talk about the fact that the county is one of our 4 funding partners. We are funded through the lodging tax. We get about 39% of the total lodging tax collected in the city of Coos Bay, the city of North Bend, by the Coquille Indian Tribe, and by the county for a prescribed area around Charleston alone. Our budget this year is about $1.3 million, and currently we are at about 61% in income coming in, but we've only spent about 45% of our budget. So we are in a good position right now. One of the things we tout every year is the county visitor spending number, that $295.9 million that visitors spend when they come to the county. That is for 2022. We won't have 2023 number until about May, June. But my board tasked me with figuring out return on investment of what the Visitor and Convention Bureau does to bring visitors to our county or to our communities. To be able to do that, I needed to know what percentage of the county number is spent in Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston alone. And so I contracted with the same company, and it looks like this might come up now. You want to, slideshow from the beginning, or from this slide.
Looking for it. Do you remember how to? Okay, go for it.
All right. So we looked to the county number to determine how much. We hired the same company that provides that county number to the state that comes through Travel Oregon, so Dean Runyon Associates, and 46% of the $295.9 million is spent in Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston at about $137.2 million. This is spent on accommodations and food service and gas, food and beverage stores, retail sales, arts, entertainment, and recreation. And for both of us, we were up.
Can see this.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
It's some.
We can't, a lot of us can't see this.
It's as big as it gets.
That's as big as it
I'm
gets.
sorry, we do have physical limitations. This is what we have.
There's a seat up here.
What's it
There's some
called?
chairs up here.
Right in the center.
Yeah.
In the front.
There's 2 chairs over here.
Or this wheel over here by Caddy.
Right.
Ma'am,
Sorry,
you
go-
can sit over here if you'd like. I'd give up my chair.
I think the glass is there. Thank you.
And anybody who's standing, there's 3, 4, 5 empty chairs outside here.
No, that one's mine, but otherwise there's 4 empty chairs up here.
There's several up here.
Okay, sorry, Janice.
No, that's totally fine. So what I wanted to illustrate here is that for the county, from 2021 to 2022, all 6 categories are up. For Coos Bay, they are all up except arts, entertainment, and recreation. So we're working on getting those numbers up. If you want to switch the slide. Compared to 2019, which was the pre-pandemic year, we can see that the county went up significantly from 277.3 million up to the 295. Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston still has a little ways to go, but we're getting there. Next slide, Bobby. So I needed that number, that $137.2 million to figure return on investment. So return on investment is figured as a percentage of the visitor spending based on the influence of our advertising. I cannot claim that all $137 million was spent because they saw an ad. I wish I could, but I can't, because we know in advertising that it takes people 7 to 10 times seeing an ad before they'll ever take an action. That means clicking on a link or planning a trip. So we look to our industry to figure out what percentage of influence we have on the visit. Travel Oregon is very conservative at about 5%. Visit Florida is very bold, believing that 40% of all the visitor spending in the state of Florida is influenced by their advertising. We felt one was too conservative, one was way too bold, so we looked to the University of Massachusetts, who has a direct advertising response model that says that destination marketing has about a 15% influence on travel. So that's the one we decided to go with. If you want to change the slide, Bobby. So you figure return on investment is the visitor spend times our percent of influence minus what we spent divided by what we spent. So if you take that 137.2 million and multiply it by the influence number, you get about 20 million. Minus what we spent, and in 2022 that was around $728,000, and divided by that again. And you get a return on investment of $26.70 for every dollar we spend.
Not bad.
It's a pretty good, pretty good number. Now, if I was so bold as to say we influence the same as Visit Florida, that would be about $74. And if I was as conservative as the state of Oregon, it would be about $850. But we know that this is a good number for us. For every dollar we spend, we bring $26 back. So a couple of things that we've been working on. Holiday Lights is our biggest, there we go, our biggest holiday event. That's the biggest thing that brings visitors to our area in December, late November and December. 53,000 people visited Holiday Lights this year. Last year, they instituted the timed parking passes, which upset a lot of people because they didn't want to plan ahead or they didn't know when they wanted to go. People misunderstood and they were buying a parking pass for everybody in the car, not just the car. Holiday Lights has always been free, but there has always been a $5 parking fee at Shore Acres, no matter what time of year you're there. So we went after a couple of grants. The VCB took this on and got $30,000 in grants from Travel Oregon and the Ford Family Foundation to provide shuttle service from the marina to Holiday Lights this year. We had 21 nights of service out of the 39 nights that the Holiday Lights are open. It cost us about $22,000, which is why we needed the grants. And there was some other, we had a temporary staff person and some signage. We took 4,100 of those 53,000 to the lights this year. And we're looking to do that again. Unfortunately, we won't get grants in the future. So we are going to be looking to our corporate partners in the communities to help us cover the nights. Holiday Lights was the longest it can be this past year, 39 nights. That's because Thanksgiving was so early. This coming year, Thanksgiving is extremely late. It's the shortest Holiday Lights, and it'll be 34 nights. So we're looking at about 19 nights of shuttle service for the new year. So recently, we have moved away from print advertising. It's one of the things you can't really track is a print publication, unless you do something like put a QR code where you ask people to scan and look at a video or go to your website. So we have been doing a lot more in the digital and social realm. These are paid ads. We target the people that we send these to, and these were the ones that were most recent. Bobby, if you want to switch the screen. It flashed to black just a second ago, hopefully that, oh, there we go. So again, Holiday Lights being our biggest event in the winter. We do a lot of digital ads. We do billboards for this particular event. We do them in Portland, Salem, Eugene, and up and down the I-5 corridor all the way down to Medford. That little girl is just the cutest thing ever, and she caught a lot of attention. We also do a lot of sponsored content now. These are newsletters, the one in the middle and the one to the right, that we did with publications. So while we don't do a lot of print ads with publications like Northwest Travel and Life and 1859 magazine, they will do what we call sponsored content newsletters. So these went to their subscribers. 29,000 and 32,000, I think, were the subscribers for these two magazines, and we owned all the content. Storm watching is the next big thing in the winter, and it's interesting how many times I have to tell people the difference between high surf and king tides. High surf and king tides are not the same thing, and king tides are very predictable, so people are like, oh, it's king tide, I'm going to go stand at Shore Acres and look at the waves. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen unless there's a high surf. So we've had some very disappointed people standing at Shore Acres looking at a very glass-like sea. But when we do have a high surf, and unfortunately we don't get a lot of notice on high surf, we get about 2 days, 3 days notice. We put that out as fast as we can, but it is a big thing. And the waves at Shore Acres are amazing. So I wanted to share some of our social statistics because we've seen a big jump recently because we're doing more paid social as well as organic. Our impressions raised 48% over calendar year 2022, and our engagement went up 21%, and our reach doubled because of our paid and organic social. Now, the video views for 2023 were 212,000. We have a lot of videos. We place them on our Facebook page, on our Instagram, on YouTube and TikTok. That number is going to more than quadruple this year because we had 226,000 video views in January. So we're reaching some people. We're reaching some people. So again, we've got a lot of increase in our TikTok. We just started TikTok, so we haven't done a lot yet with that. But we also have 226,000 views on our videos on YouTube. So lots of followers. Our next big thing is the Clambake Music Festival. And we decided this year to do a big promotion around it in Portland with the Willamette Week and with Oregon Live. We are giving away 2 trips to the festival. Includes a 3-night stay at the mill, plus all access passes to the festival, a couple of meals from Blue Heron and Back Alley. And we, when we first released this on the Willamette Week, we had 300 plus entries within an hour or 2. So people are interested in coming. Also coming up, 3A basketball. This is big business for Coos Bay and North Bend. It's about $500,000 in economic impact. So a lot of businesses help us support this, welcome signs on reader boards, coaches bags, those kinds of things. So if anybody's interested in participating, just let me know. But that also is a big business for us. Also coming up, we've got several festivals and runs, and down at Whiskey Run in July will be the second annual Ride the Dirt Wave Festival, which went really well this past year, and we expect it to go well again this year. And then that's my presentation.
Right.
Thank you all so much. We couldn't do what we do without the support of the county commissioners and the county as a whole. It's important to our economy. Travel and tourism is big business for us. So
Jen,
Well,
can you quickly identify your board members who work so hard, so that
Yes,
everyone here knows?
yes. So our board is made up of 1 member from each of our 4 funders and a representative of the lodging industry and the chamber. So Lucinda DeNovo is currently our chair. She is a representative of the Coquille Indian tribe and works at the Mill Casino. Tim Hyatt, who is the Charleston Merchants Association, is the county rep on our board. Larry Garboden, who is a city councilman for the city of North Bend, is our North Bend representative. Nicole Rutherford, who is the city manager for the city of Coos Bay, is our Coos Bay representative. Mark Matichek represents he owns Back Alley and North Bend Lanes, is our chamber rep, and then Joe Monahan, who is the general manager of the Best Western in Coos Bay, is our lodging rep. Any other questions?
Well, I'd just like to comment, Janice, that that you guys are doing a phenomenal work. And, you know, everything that I've seen has always been consistent with that statement and today's evidence, or as evidenced in today's presentation, that hasn't changed. So thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I especially like the professional, very professional presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to 3B, Parks, requesting approval to purchase a new dump trailer. Mr. Storm, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, we're requesting spending approval for purchase of a 7x16 by 14K dump trailer for our parks. We have one already, but we're using the thing so much we're actually borrowing the corrections departments because they're so valuable and we use them much, and they're like a dump truck, but we don't need a CDL to move stuff around. And this is in our budget for this year. We did put in for it and it was approved, and so I'm seeking spending authority.
Very good. I have a motion.
Go ahead, Bob.
Mr. Chair, move to purchase the dump trailer from Trailer Plus of Eugene, in the amount of $15,939.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the board?
Sounds good.
Any discussion in the audience? Online? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes.
Could I point out something while we have everyone here?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to take a moment to thank Craig and the job his crew does, and point out that it wasn't too many years ago that Parks was running at a deficit, and I can't remember the number exactly, $150,000, $200,000 is what the county general fund had to pay in to support them. Now they're operating with a little bit of a surplus, and they're paying their own way entirely. They pay the county for accounting services, payroll services, safety, personnel maintenance, and all that. So very proud of what Craig and his crew has done. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, thank you for that, Craig. And while you're still here, we have 3C, Transfer of Appropriation Resolution 2402025B.
Yeah, this is the transfer funds from our vehicle expense line item to our debt services line item. This line item is short due to extra fees that we were not aware of. Actually, this comes from a leased vehicle that we have. We went over the mileage on it, so we have to pay a $100 and some penalty. That's what it is.
115.
Yeah,
I move we approve resolution 24-02-025B.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? In the audience? Online? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, Craig. Next up, 3D. Treasurer Megan Sims, Coos County Inventory and Fixed Asset Policy. Good morning.
Good morning. The inventory and fixed asset policy has not been updated since June of 2016. We have updated the policy, changing the threshold of computer and electronic equipment from $100 to $500 with some other minor changes. Attached was the red line version, if you had any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve and sign the revised inventory and fixed asset policy for the county.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Board? Any discussion in the room? Any online? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
And 3E, annual review of the investment policy.
So within this policy, it says that we need to review it annually. I'm not requesting any changes, just need it on the record that we did review it and you guys are okay with it.
Motion?
I move that we acknowledge that we have received the annual review of the investment policy.
Okay, second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Might add that no action was needed.
Yeah, and I'll mention that I did review the policy and it all looks legitimate to me. All right, any discussion in the room? Online? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I'm a bit remiss. I'll break in here for a second.
Yes, Commissioner.
We have, yes, former State Senator Ernie Rubler in the audience, and former Representative Caddy McHugh in the audience.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both.
Thanks for attending.
3F, Resolution 24-02018B, transfer of expenditure appropriations within the Charleston TLT Fund in the amount of $25,000.
Can you speak up, please? Can't hear you.
Item 3F, Resolution 24-02018B, transfer of expenditure appropriations within the Charleston TLT Fund in the amount of $25,000.
So we received more than what we budgeted, so we are just transferring appropriations from contracted services to the general fund transfer line item.
I move we approve and sign Resolution 24-02-018B.
And second?
Any discussion on the board? In the room? Any discussion online? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Sheriff's Office up next on 3G, payment of the Coos County Sheriff's Office fuel bill. You guys keep burning fuel, Sheriff?
Yes, sir. Unfortunately. I wish we could sit in the office. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Sorry. So this is our, until we can make a different county rule, this is the monthly request to pay our fuel bill. Unfortunately, I don't have a specific amount yet. We are still waiting for some invoices to come in, so have to request a not to exceed amount, $20,000. It'll be less than that. Historically, it has been. So requesting spending authority not to exceed $20,000. Anywhere typically comes in between 16 and 19.
Okay, for the month of February.
For the month of February, yes, sir.
Okay, so move on the stated amount in the month.
Yes, sir.
And I second that. And for clarification, is this fuel for your vehicles or fuel for the jail or both? Or?
For the vehicles. This will be for, well, for everything.
For everything.
This will be patrol mainly. Each deputy typically drives about 33,000 miles per year. So it's the deputies, it's also transport for the jail, going back and forth between Douglas County for the pipeline transports for inmates, it's everything.
Thank you.
So, Sheriff, I know that you, we conversed a little while ago about where the purchase points are for the fuel, and obviously you're out on patrol in the North County. You're not going to run back to the county shop to fill the vehicle.
Correct.
My understanding has been that there is a substantial difference, though, in the cost between what is available at the county shop versus at retail outlets. So, do you have a standard policy to do everything you can to fill at the county shop when possible?
Well, we do an analysis of the cost periodically. The problem is it's really difficult to keep up with it because the card lock stations like Pack Pride or CFN, they change daily. Whereas the county shop, I think they do an analysis on weekly or monthly, I'm not sure. My fleet manager can tell you better, but basically we do the analysis to figure out where the cheapest cost is. Because it changes daily, it varies. So we just go with whatever the cheapest cost is.
Do you ever find retail purchase to be cheaper than what's available at the county shop?
Retail?
Uh-huh.
Like out at Chevron or out on?
Well, I mean... Thanks for shutting that down, Brad. So I guess my question is, do you know kind of, I mean, I assume since since retail outlets are in business for a profit, and the county is not seeking to profit on those fuel sales, and we are buying in bulk, there must be a price differential in general. Is that true? Between fuel purchased retail and fuel purchased at the county shop?
There is. The last analysis we did showed a savings at the car block stations, not only because of the doing it at the car block stations themselves, but because of the driving difference. There's about 40 miles to go from, not only driving difference, or not only the cost difference in the savings from time, but the safety. We have two people on, leaving one person unattended north while somebody else drives 40 miles. But the cost savings and the fuel savings, it was definitely a savings of money as well by using the 5 car lock stations for the pack ride throughout the county, excuse me.
Right.
But it was cheaper going with pack ride
All
for
right.
now, and we'll do another analysis soon. I think we're due.
Thanks for entertaining that question for the public record. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the board?
Nope.
In the room? Online? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving up to 3H. Order adopting official road name of Penny Wells Drive.
Hello.
Good morning, Amy.
This is a matter of the adoption of an official name of a road, which they're proposing to be Penny Wells Drive. It's located off of Prosper Junction Road, northeast of the city of Bandon.
Do we have a motion?
I move we adopt an official name of the road, Penny Wells Drive, located off of Prosper Junction Road, northeast of the city of Bandon, order number 24-01-009BL.
Yes, sir.
A motion and a second. We have any discussion on the board? Discussion in the room? Online? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And item 3I, order adopting official name of Fawn Lane.
So this is the matter of the adoption of an official name proposed to be Fawn Lane, located off of Anderson Lane, east of the city of Coos Bay.
Very good. Motion?
Motion to adopt official name of road Fawn Lane located off Anderson Road on east of the city of Coos Bay, order 24-01-010PL.
Despite the apparent slant towards naming all these after ladies instead of men, I'll second the motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I thought that was an animal rather than a people.
It was a famous stripper.
More than I wanted to know.
Curious that you would know that, Commissioner, but okay. And Amy, just as a matter of discussion, can you explain for the benefit of the audience the difference between a drive and a lane and why they are so named?
It's the way that the road goes, in my understanding. So,
East and west or north and south.
yeah.
Right, okay, very good. Thank you very much. Any discussion in the room? Any discussion online? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. 3J, promotion of Jessica Sewell from Building Inspector 1 to Building Inspector 2.
So Jessica Sewell has been employed as the Building Inspector 1 since March 1st of 2023, and she has now obtained her Commercial Building Inspector certificate that qualifies her to be promoted to Building Inspector 2. We accounted for this in our budget, doesn't affect our budget. And so we are requesting the board to approve and promote Jessica Sewell from Building Inspector 1 to Building Inspector 2, effective March 1st, 2024.
Okay. Motion?
Move to approve Jessica Sewell from Building Inspector 1 to 2, effective March 1st of 24. Approve and sign resolution 24-02-019B.
And I'll second it.
All right, and do we have any discussion on the board?
I do. I think Jessica has earned this promotion, but I believe that we had a resolution not too long ago in concerning our county's financial situation to not have these types of increases. And I don't necessarily agree with that resolution, but I think we need to square this with that.
You have some input? Meg, or Caroline? Sorry.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, it was a requirement in her job description that she obtain this certification.
This was her goal and what was expected of her. She just happened to take the test a little bit faster and pass it.
And
I understand that, but it appears to me that this is an exception to a resolution. And I'd like to table it until we have a little time to study that
Okay.
and bring it back. How are we going to deal with this?
sure.
I mean, she's put herself in a new position, she improved her skills, and I think it's reasonable to expect a compensation for that. And yet, I can't remember exactly what the resolution was, but it was pretty much no new raises.
It was what we consider a reclassification freeze, not necessarily a promotion freeze,
Right.
but a reclassification. But if she had this certification at the time of hire, she would have automatically have been a building inspector too. But she didn't, but we made it a requirement that she obtain this certification. However, having said that, if you want me to put something more in writing and send it to you, I'd be happy to.
I think we should, otherwise we're going to be confronted with, why didn't I get mine when he got hers?
Sure.
Stuff like that. And that's just my thought. I don't know what the other two commissioners think.
Well, let's,
Table until we sort this out. Because I can't remember exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was a reclassification freeze to stop positions from being reclassified to higher pay grades.
No.
so is the table a motion?
Pardon me?
We're going to move to table.
Okay.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
It's a,
And a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tabled, thank you. All right. And Caroline's already at the table. Agenda item title, award of contract, item 3K.
All right, good morning. So on February 6th, we did, the board did approve a notice of intent to award the Coos County Salary Compensation Study to McGrath Human Resources Group as the most responsive proposer. In the interim, we have put together a contract. That contract has been signed by McGrath, and I did run it through County Counsel's office. And we went through the usual protest period with the other responders. So we'll request the Board of Commissioners to approve and sign contract with McGrath Human Resources Group for the Coos County Salary Compensation Study.
I move we approve and sign the contract with McGrath Human Resources Group for the Coos County Salary/Compensation Study in the amount of $25,469.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the board? Any discussion in the room? Any discussion online? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item 3L, side agreement with AFSCME.
All right. So this side agreement we have with ASME that deals with the school positions has been in place for many years. But recently we got with ASME and decided to just make some amendments to the site agreement that further clarify how school positions should be handled if a school position comes on mid-year. And so request the Board of Commissioners to approve and sign the revised site agreement with ASME Union re school-based mental health specialist positions and payouts during the summer months.
Have a motion?
I move we approve and sign the revised site agreement with the AFSCME union regarding school-based mental health specialist positions and payouts during the summer months.
Yes, second.
Any discussion on the board? Any discussion in the room? Online? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
apparently some folks are having trouble hearing in the back. If they could raise the volume a bit.
That's going to cause a problem.
That's what gave us the feedback. Uh-huh.
Maybe we
Okay.
just have to.
So I
speak
wonder
more.
what microphone is picking that up to, it's us. Okay,
We should look at this different microphone.
all right. I wonder if it would make a difference if we tipped our microphones a little bit away from that direction and toward ourselves. Do you think that might help?
You could try it.
We can try it. You have something to prop under your microphone, gentlemen?
Or are the microphones picking up each other?
It could be that, or it could be picking up the monitor.
Oh yeah, you could turn that monitor all the way down because we don't need to hear ourselves. We can hear
And
just fine.
that's what he's been working on for the
Yes.
last couple minutes, turning you guys down.
Very good. Okay, thank you for your ongoing work over there, gentlemen. We
Thank you for your
appreciate it.
patience.
All right, item 3M, approving order 2402011L, referring a measure for local option levy to the Coos County voters at the May 21, 2024 election. Counselor.
Yes, thank you. And I will say my speaker has been getting mad at me at various points during this meeting, so
Okay.
hopefully it won't shoot off like it has been doing. But yeah, this is a proposed order, 240211L. It refers a measure for a local option levy to Coos County voters at the upcoming primary election, May 21st election. The measure will raise dedicated funds for the Coos County Jail and the District Attorney's Office. The order also approves the language of the ballot title and the explanatory statement that will be included in the Oregon Voters Pamphlet. This is, the ballot title and the explanatory statement in particular are a product of multiple staff that were directed at the January 16th meeting of the board to develop the ballot title with considerable input from Sheriff Fabrizio and Megan Sims, the Finance Director. The proposed measure will increase the capacity of the county jail to 147 beds. That's a 50% increase over its current 98 bed capacity. The measure will also pay for additional prosecutors in the DA's office to handle a backlog in criminal cases. The measure will levy a tax of 98 cents per $1,000 in assessed valuation for 5 years, commencing in the upcoming fiscal year. The measure will require the county to place funds generated by the levy in a restricted public safety fund, dedicated fund. That's the law for any local option taxes, that the funds from the local option tax be segregated. What's not required by state law, but the county would do, is perform an audit every year and present the results of the audit in a public forum. This levy automatically expires on June, if passed, this levy automatically expires on June 30th, 2029, unless reapproved by Coos County voters. And so again, the requested action here would be to approve the order as written, and that order designates staff to file the ballot title explanatory statement with the clerk's office.
Do I have a motion?
I move we approve order 240211L, referring to measure for a local option levy to the Coos County voters at the May 21, 2024 election.
Yes, sir.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion on the board?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, back in the mid-80s, the county relied on ONC timber receipts to run most of the general fund of the county. Those dollars in the mid-80s, in today's dollars, amounted to about $25 million. The commissioners at the time, rightly so, in my opinion, didn't need to raise property taxes on the citizens. Since then, those dollars have decreased and decreased and decreased, even though the 1937 ONC Act said those lands which produce the timber are for the benefit of the counties only. So, wrongly or rightly, mostly wrongly in my opinion, the federal government in DC kept restricting and restricting and restricting the harvest. There was such a furor about it that they enacted the Rural Schools Act, SRS as is known, as a minimal stopgap for the lack of funding. This year, that funding has now run out. And we're faced with about a $4 million shortfall. I might add also in the mid-90s, because of the reduction in lack of harvest, BLM went from receipts-based, in other words, run their offices based on harvest of those trees, to allocated funding by the federal government, the treasury. So they no longer operate on what they can produce. And that's the predicament we're in right now.
Commissioner Main, for the information of the room, could you please tell us how many acres we're talking about on the ONC lands and what the actual growth rate of those lands is and what the actual harvest rate today is?
Sure. The lands are over 2 million acres in Western Oregon, which benefit the 18 Western Oregon counties, supposed to. The maximum harvest under the 1937 Act is 500 million board feet. They put that restriction in, Congress, because in the 20s and 30s and even into the 40s, companies would buy lands, harvest, and then let the lands go back for taxes. In other words, not replant, not for the next generation. The growth rate, even though it's limited to harvest of 500 million total, the growth rate is 1.2 billion board feet per year. In other words, more than twice. Right now, the harvest is somewhere around 200 million board feet. Now that mid-80s, 1985, in today's dollars of 25 million, that represents 50% of the harvest and 5.9 of that 50%. So imagine the amount of dollars floating out through the communities of Western Oregon and the amount of jobs that produced. So we get 5.9% of 50% of the total harvest value, supposedly back then, but we get almost, I think this past year under the SRS we got 1.3. Now the general fund produces a little over, for general fund for property tax in the entire county receives in property tax is a little over 6 million. It's about 7.8 or 9, and the county treasurer will correct me, just to run the jail, not alone the rest of patrol, dispatch, animal control, civil, assessor, DA, clerk, surveyor, etc. Treasurer, tax collector, all that. That's all in the general fund. And that, the general fund can't even survive keeping the jail open. Quite rightly so, because the taxes weren't raised back then because they had so much money coming in from timber sheets. And now we're stuck in a situation where there's no receipts.
at all. Almost nothing, in fact. Not good.
Commissioner Sweet?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most important actions that this board has proposed in the 10, 11 years that I've been a county commissioner. Our public safety system is severely broken. There are inadequate consequences for those who are criminally inclined to behave themselves. Our manning level in our district attorney's office is such that we can't keep up with the pace of crime. We're backlogged some 1,500 cases. Even if they were prosecuted, chances are they wouldn't go to jail unless they've committed a crime that's very, very serious. Something in the neighborhood of rape or child abuse or spousal abuse, something like that, to stay at our jail. Not only that, because the cases aren't prosecuted, our parole and probation department, which is a wonderful department, funded entirely by the state, is losing money, losing that funding, part of which goes to support the jail. Excuse me. Because they're paid by the state for their caseload. And if crime isn't prosecuted, the criminal neither goes to jail nor goes to parole and probation. So, if you look at statistics around the country and around the state, particularly Portland, I don't know that we're there yet, and I know we don't want to be there. But our system isn't at the capacity we need. I remind you that our public safety system isn't just patrol on the streets. We have deputy patrol, the cities have police patrol, the state is patrolling. I'm sorry, but if there's inadequate capacity to prosecute a criminal who has been picked up by one of our patrolmen, we know quite a bit about that. The only people that know more about that are the criminals themselves. They know there's a good chance nothing will happen. And even if the DA does take the case, it's not prosecuted on a timely basis. And if the prosecution requires jail time, chances are, again, there's not jail space. So this levy will replace, will hopefully cure those inadequacies. We'll add 2 more district assistant DAs or deputy DAs to the district attorney's staff. It will increase our jail bed capacity by 50% over what currently is funded. There is a cost to it, certainly, but there is a cost to crime. And some of it financial, some of it emotional. And I think it's our obligation to do a better job of punishing criminal activity. So that's what this is about. Our property tax rate that we currently have is about 1/3 of the average counties in the state. Even with the public safety levy that is being contemplated, it will still be at just about 40% lower than the state average. So anyway, that's my input. Thank you for your attention.
Another thing I should say is that we, the ONC County, I'm the vice president for the last, I think, 8 years. We finally had enough of Washington DC not adhering to the 1937 ONC Act. We went to federal court, and then we went to the Court of Appeals, and now on March 22nd, we are going to have an audience with the Supreme Court of the United States to see whether they will take the case on our behalf. We also have, last count, I think 26 U.S. senators and representatives in support of our case, as well as many private companies, such as the Oregon Cattlemen's, the AFRC, American Forest Resource Council, etc. So we're hopeful they will take the case, they will give us some type of a direction, and actually tell the federal government that they have to resume harvest, so that we can have proper county government and a well-functioning jail that keeps all those people out of the revolving door system.
I had one more thing. I think our conversation about lost or no longer received federal timber receipts begs the question, well, why hasn't something been done about that? There was a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk about that for 40 years. But I can tell you that this Board of Commissioners acted on that. We were party to a lawsuit regarding state managed forest lands, and we won. We, the counties, won the first go around. It was appealed. It was heard by the State of Oregon Court of Appeals and rejected. And the State of Oregon Supreme Court has refused to hear the case. So that's that.
And it was the largest award by a jury ever in Oregon of $1.2 billion.
We are party, as Bob mentioned, to another lawsuit against the BLM for the way they manage or mismanage, however you want to look at it, the ONC lands, and we won that case when it was first heard. We lost on appeal, now we'll go to the Supreme Court. But it'll take a long time for that to be heard and for any rules regarding harvest of those lands to be changed.
I might add, it's going to take several years, if not more.
Which brings us to the
ramp up the harvest on the ONC before we see any funds. If we do, in this 5-year levy period, I would be the first to make a motion that we discontinue the levy in favor of those funds.
Sure, oh, absolutely, no question about that. Then, just a second, Vanessa, we're getting anxious back there. I know, it's so hard. Another lawsuit the county engaged in, rather than just sit around and talk about it, was with the BLM regarding the Coos Bay Wagon Road lands. And we were on this one ourselves. And again, we lost. So, and we spent a lot of money on it and still lost. So, I just don't want people to think that we've been sitting here all these years not acting on trying to get some of this timber harvest renewed that would help us to get these timber revenues that would allow us to continue having what is the second lowest county operating tax rate in the state. But we are out of time. And we need to get this levy passed, or else our system will continue to be inadequate. And with that, I
Very good,
Well,
thank you.
there's
So,
one additional thing, John was talking about trust lands, which the counties turned over the lands to the state for management, from which we were supposed to get 75%. The state get 25% for management, rebar, and planting, etc. You all have 7,244 acres of trust lands in Coos County, basically on the southeast side of the Elliott. Do you know how much we've received over the years typically for harvest on those lands? Zero. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Zero. I complained for a long time about it to the Forest Trust, and eventually the state did a couple of years of harvest. But basically now they're back to zero. The major harvest is up in the Tillamook State Forest, which brings in multi-millions of dollars to those counties. And you should know you all have 17,000 acres of county forest, which, depending on the year and the market, brings in $3 to $6 million net for 4 people working in that office to the county general fund. So we should be getting what? $1.5 to $3 million off of our trust land coming into the county forest, or into the county general fund, but we get zero. And now they want, the Department of Forestry Commission, what do they call it exactly? Anyway, they want to now have an HCP, a Habitat Conservation Plan, which they will lock up. I think last count was 56% of all those lands for no harvest for 70 years. Well, you know what happens in 70 years? Even if they plant it today, means it's old growth, and they'll say you can't harvest old growth. When I was a kid, it was 200 years, but they kind of changed things. So that's another predicament we're facing. And now they have this private forest accord, which a large number of companies and some environmental groups went together, and they expanded the no harvest areas in all of the private forests, including the county forest of your 17,000 acres. So now it's, instead of 50 or 60 feet on either side, it's several hundred feet on either side, which totally restricts down what we can and can't harvest. So that's some of the reasons why we're in this budget shortfall.
With the volley between the two of you guys, you've covered pretty much every point that I wanted to make as well, so that's awesome. One point that I wanted to make, first of all, I'm in 100% agreement with everything that Commissioner May and Commissioner Sweet have said regarding this predicament that we're in, the reasons for it. Since I've become a county commissioner, one thing that I've noticed is that everything that comes down the pipe that affects this county from a regulatory standpoint, from a fiscal standpoint, is all seems to be oriented toward diminishing the power and control of the county and centralizing it in Salem and in Washington, D.C. And absolutely disempowering us from doing the critical work that we're committed to do and required to do as a county. Second point I wanted to make is that there are people who agree with this levy being forwarded to the ballot. There are people who disagree. But even though my position is migrating on this particular question as to how I personally will vote, but I did vote to put this on the ballot, to forward this process, because regardless my personal feelings at that point, I felt that it was very important that the people of Coos County have an opportunity to voice their view on this important question. And so so it's here before us today. So we have a first and a second, we've had some discussion on the board, and I know we have some discussion at the audience. And Chris, I see you there, but Danessa actually had her hand up first. Please, thank you.
Hi, Vanessa Rains from Myrtle Point, and I enjoyed the ping pong. You guys did very well with, it was almost choreographed, so it's great because it's true. Some things that haven't been looked at, though, is that our state's trying to take away some of our control, and where they're going to try to equalize our property tax with Portland. And how is that going to have effect if you put this levy in part? Then we're all going to be paying more money. So.
And they don't say where the money is going to be spent once they enact the 25 cents statewide property tax.
Right.
There's only so much you can squeeze.
That's right.
And so our states, right now, that's what's going on at the Capitol right now, talking about equalizing taxes, and we're the lowest tax, well, the second or third lowest in the state. Go ahead.
Additionally, the kicker is going to be $5.2 billion coming back to the taxpayers of Oregon. So why would you need to enact more taxes?
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to tell you, I saw something that I thought was very positive to add to taxes, especially property taxes. There's a lot of dilapidated houses around here, and I did notice in a house that was derelict, not used. They tore it down, and apparently they got one of those pre-done packages that permit. The drawings were all done, and that house has gone up in less than a month and a half. And that's going to be a house that's going to be paying property taxes from a derelict of, I don't know, probably not even paying property taxes, probably behind on taxes, to a house that is going to do 2 to 3 people, a person's house, and that's going to add to the tax base. You should be going around looking for that and getting people to start bidding on those derelict houses and trying to get those houses up to snuff that they're not usable. They're not even usable for anyone. Even if we had the port developed or anything here, which would bring more money, revenue here, why aren't we looking at our inventory of houses that don't have a value, aren't even up to snuff with the other houses around them, and get those up to snuff? And that would add to your total tax base.
Vanessa, could I have a comment on that? We do that. When we can't go out and take down a house that doesn't belong to us. But when we get a house back through tax foreclosure, that can't be lived in.
Who's condemning these houses? I don't think you have anyone that's condemning houses or certified to condemn houses to say they're.
It's one thing to condemn the house, it's another thing to take possession of the property and build another house. That has to be. I'd also like to add to it, what the county gets in tax on the, say, the home that you were talking about, say it's worth $200,000. Is that a fair number?
This house was in Myrtle Point. You'll probably see it. It was not lived in. They leveled it.
No, I mean the one that's replacing.
I would say it's probably $250,000.
Okay, so $250,000. That would generate for the county about $250 a year in additional tax revenue.
How many bad houses are out there that could be upgraded to that level?
Well, you know, we can't go out and tell someone to upgrade their house.
Okay, well, all right, so five years, right? 25 years. So is there any disrupt to this that can happen sooner if any of these other things come into play? For the state, and also if the state does that bill that equalizes taxes, and then we turn around and we have the O&C lands come along, that's like triple.
If we got federal timber money, of course. We don't need to levy the local taxes.
Right.
So you're just going to, before the 29, you're going to stop it?
Before what?
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
we
good.
could. And let me talk
If we
about the
can.
state. There was a proposal, or is a proposal for a state property tax for public safety. My understanding is, and Kathy and Arnie might know better, they're not here any longer, that that was pretty much dead on arrival when it was submitted to committee. So hopefully that's not going to happen. Thank you.
Yeah, just to follow up on that comment, it's ironic that they want to raise that tax for public safety, and the quoted purpose of it is to fight fires. Well, the problem is, for decades, the state has been derelict in managing their own forests, and that's why those forests burn. It's the public forests that burn, not the private ones, because the private ones are properly managed.
And if you had harvest on the state forest, you wouldn't need that levy in the first place.
That's right. Okay, thank you, Chris, for waiting.
And if I may just jump in, sorry, Chris. Just to get a feel for how many people want to comment on this agenda item, can I get a show of hand? Comment? Okay.
So, and we do, I heard somebody mention 3 minutes. The 3-minute rule, folks, applies to the public comments section. When we're discussing agenda items, most boards don't actually even allow public participation in the agenda item process. We feel that it's very important to do that here, and so we do it, because we want everybody to be heard. Whether we agree or not, you have a right to speak, and you should have that privilege. And so, comments during agenda items is at the pleasure of the board. And we will engage that discussion if it seems productive. If not, then we'll end it and keep moving on. Thank you. All right, Chris. Now, without further ado.
I'm Chris Castleman. Thanks for having me here, and I do actually really appreciate the back and forth you guys allow. I've been to some Coos Bay and North Bend meetings, and they got a little timer sitting right here, and they get a little Nazi on us. But I'm here to urge you to change your mindset from one that's excuse-based to solutions-based. John and Bob, you guys collectively have been sitting in those chairs for almost 30 years, and this problem has been brewing the whole time. And you've had that whole time to come up with a solution, and you've proposed this one before. And I urge you to kind of deal with reality and understand what is within your control and what is not in your control. So you're able to ask the citizens for a public levy, and that's within your control, but you've already been given your answer 2 years ago and a couple times before that, and we said no. It's not what the public wants. So going past that, what's in your control? Well, you guys allocate the funds from the general fund to the departments that pull out of the general fund. And it's a matter of priority. I don't really see that. I mean, there is obviously a crime crisis in this county, but the discussion today about the levy is a financial crisis, and it's more specifically an allocation crisis. Bob, you brought up the $6 million you received from property tax revenue, and that's accurate. And you mentioned the $7.8 million budget for just the jail alone, and that's accurate. But you fail to present to these people and to the public that the general fund is funded with $25 million this fiscal year. $25 million. And then you claim that there's a $4 million deficit brewing for next year. So let's just say you're assuming there's going to be $21 million available. Well, that can fund the jail. That can fund the DA. That can fund the sheriff if you allocate it to them first. So it's a crisis of priority. And you can't prioritize everything. That defeats the purpose of a priority. You know, you have to determine what comes first, second, third, fourth. And unfortunately, if you don't have all the money to go around, something suffers. Please do not make the public's safety suffer. Don't make that decision. Your predecessors in 2006 and 2007 made that decision. They made a critical error. They defunded the police before it was even popular, and caused this crisis. And I'm sorry that this is an attack on John and Bob, but you guys have sat there the whole time while this has been brewing and getting worse and worse, and you've failed to accept the mindset of a solutions-based approach based on reality. The reality is you don't control whether we pass the levy or not. All odds point to it not passing. So you're asking us a question, do we want to pay more taxes? You've been given the answer no. So my question for you guys is, what's your solution if it fails? What solution are you presenting to the public for when you don't get the money? You're claiming there's a deficit, great, there's a big problem coming up, but what's your priority going to be? Are you going to fund the lawyer, the treasurer, the IT department, public safety? Which one do you fund first? What's your priority? Let us know. Tell us what your solution is if this fails, because it's most likely going to fail.
Okay, so Chris, we had a 3-hour discussion with you some weeks ago where you pointed out all kinds of things that you thought the money could be allocated from a certain department to the jail and sheriff's office. In every instance, you were proved to be inaccurate.
I mean, I don't agree with that characterization.
I know you don't.
But sure.
But the
And it's unfortunate that
everybody
meeting
else in the room
wasn't reported.
told you that was not a solution and could not be done. Even claimed that the county commissioners gave themselves a 10% raise. And I had to point out to you that state law says that commissioners and the other elected officials in the county do not and cannot allocate their own raises.
Okay, I mean, somebody gave you a raise. It's 10.6 increase in salary and benefits from the
Compensation
prior
committee,
year
but
to
not
this
the
year.
commissioners like you claim.
I'd like to interject right there, if I may, Commissioner, and point out that that there was a raise last year allocated to us.
I know.
To my surprise, unknown to me that was going to happen. And this year, I will be proposing a 20% salary cut for the Board of Commissioners.
That's fantastic.
Just to set the example and show that we are willing to.
That's well received. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell me that the 8 solutions I presented during that 3-hour broadcast was, none of them work. That's fine, you can tell me that, but you're up there and I'm over
You can't take grant
here.
funds and just give it to the jail from the health department. You can't do that because of allocated funding
And
outside of the county jurisdiction.
taking your word for it, assuming that's true, that still does not leave our county with a solution. And you're sitting there and we're over here, you're the people who are supposed to give us solutions and fix the problems.
So you want to cut the county clerk, which has 4 people, 2
That would be my decision,
2
yes.
in elections and 2 in recording.
For sure.
Besides the county clerk.
Public safety is absolutely #1 priority.
They had
and that-
about 8 or 10 before.
Yep.
Chris,
Public safety is #1.
we're gonna have a discourse.
Anyway.
Talk, let people talk. I let you talk, you let Bob talk.
I've had enough. I'm good.
Okay, yeah, I think that's,
Thank you.
That's enough time, thank you. So we've got we've got a number of hands up. Mr. Jennings was the next, I believe. And then I saw Mr. Bennett, and then I saw the clerk. Oh, sorry, Rob, you were out of my field of vision there.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is David Jennings. I want to try to be short and sweet.
Thank you.
I guess people are not going to admit this, but basically at this point, the alternatives are you're going to have a jail that has the capacity to hold what we need to hold, or you're not. These things about funding priority are nice to hear about, and I think there's probably some cost savings that you could apply to law enforcement. But the reality is the county is required to do a lot of things legally by law. And they can't strip out all these other departments to fund the sheriff's office legally. So it's a matter of whether you want a jail that has capacity to do the things that I think pretty much everybody agrees that need to be done, or you don't. And if you don't, things will go on as before. The other thing, I hate to say it, but I do think that those who say the levy will fail are probably correct. So you need to give some long-term thought to what you're going to do. That's why I appreciate that some time ago Matt Wilbanks brought up the issue of having a law enforcement district. Way back in the 1990s, the Aspen Courthouse Union had some discussions with members of the board about trying to do some form of a law enforcement district then, and nothing ever came about it. But I think the long-term solution would be that, and you need to think about it, and you need to think about other things and not just let a defeat stop you thinking about it. But the reality is, if the deficit is what we've been told it is, and probably it is, the choice is either you're going to have deputies laid off and you're going to have a shrunken jail that isn't going to be able to provide the services that need to be provided, you're not going to have the patrol, and the district attorney will be unable to function to the degree it should, or you're going to pay some more taxes and you're going to have the kind of law enforcement, or at least close to it, that you ought to have. And I think that's the issue. It's sad that we've come down to that point, but in government sometimes you need to make hard choices. And I realize it's easy for people to say there's always some other solution out there. Well, maybe, but nobody's ever proved one yet. So it's a matter of vote for the jail and public safety, or you don't give a level of public safety that we should have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. And I just would like to comment to follow up on you, David, there that I did consider the idea of putting forward an advisory question on the ballot, whether the residents of Coos County, the voters of Coos County, would support a special district for law enforcement in the county that would support the sheriff's department and the jail and the district attorney. And the concern there was that putting that forward as an advisory question, of course, as we all should know in the room, an advisory question does nothing except gauge the temperature of the electorate. But that putting that forward at this time on the same ballot as the levy could be a confusion to the issue, and so I decided to hold off on that. And if the levy does not pass, then that certainly will be on the, that's something that you will see at least as an advisory on the November ballot, whether that's something we should consider, or perhaps we might even move forward with a vote and actually put that issue on the ballot as an issue. So there is that. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I think it was Jim. Yeah, go ahead, Jim, and then the clerk, and then Rob. You're done, or are you still want to?
He can go next.
Okay.
Good morning, Jim Bennett, Bandon. Well wishes to everybody. So the voters have told us that they want local control as part of your campaign, Mr. Taylor, which I quite agree. All of our problems come from outside the community.
Yeah.
But we're in luck because we have the most successful, admired, divine societal framework ever conceived, the Constitution. So regardless of any opinion, that is our rule book, and it provides for local control. And the pathway that we get to our local control, I do believe, is the way in which our county is held. Despite, I believe, what is deceptive wording, home rule charter makes us an agency of the state and keeps us almost in a kind of corporate construct where we are a franchise. And what it does is, it reduces the power, your power, it reduces our sheriff's power, it reduces our clerk's power, it reduces our clerk to an employee of the Secretary of State. So if we want to regain local control, I believe that we need to set our charter as being a body politic charter, which is another word for we the people, which is the way it was supposed to be all along. And this dynamic, what it's reminding me of, is somebody that goes to an expensive shrink for years and complains about an abusive relationship where there's secrecy, lies, getting your money stolen, seeing other people behind your back, inviting strangers into the home. And after so many years, the shrink says, you have to get a divorce. And it might be ugly, but this road will not end in a good place. The state has officially adopted UN Agenda 21 Sustainable Development as their official policy. And if you don't know what that means, you might want to find out, because it doesn't include your living here in this beautiful place. So if you fancy yourself as an environmentalist, your appreciation of this place will be reduced to old photographs. It's time to get a divorce. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob?
Oh, sorry. I fell asleep for a moment. Rob Taylor from Bandon, and I appreciate you giving people time to speak. I think it's one of the most excellent things about this board, and I wish the cities would conduct themselves better. In fact, the cities are going in the opposite direction, as Chris has said, and become more authoritative over having these public comments. So this is very important to everyone here, no matter what you think, who you agree with or not. And in fact, I want to congratulate the Democrat Party for getting it together and getting their people here. Congratulations, you Democrats. I wish we had a Republican Party that pulled their crap together as well as they did. And so, one of the things that I don't want to talk about, I don't want to get into the numbers, I don't want to get into the figures, because everything you guys said, I've heard it 1,000 times if I heard it once, and most of the people probably haven't heard it, and that's unfortunate, but here's the realistic situation. People don't always vote because of what the finances are. People vote on their emotions. And that's why, like David Jennings said, that's why other people have said more than likely this is going to fail. And it is unfortunate, because I don't believe the sheriff is doing a bad job. I think he's doing an excellent job. I think that the justice system isn't broken from the bottom up, it's broken from the top down, and it's going to take way more than this little county to be able to fix this situation. That is a fact, and you can look at the legislation that's been passed over the years and see how we're enabling the criminal, not prosecuting the criminal, and it's disgusting how this process has come about. But here's something that you guys have done wrong, and I have to point these things out. Ron, when you first got into office, the first thing you did was wanted to install prayer into the city-county meeting, not the city, the county meeting. And, you know, as much as anyone wants to be religious, that's perfectly fine, but opening up a government agency or a meeting with a prayer is like opening up a whorehouse with a prayer. It doesn't mean much, okay? And you can be as religious as you want, and if we wanted to pray outside, I would join the people who wanted to pray. I would go out there, I would hold hands, and I'd be happy to pray with them. And it would be a beautiful thing, and then we could all come in here and then start the meeting, because the people who don't want to pray, don't want to pray. And they also don't want to give taxes to people who want to put them through a prayer. No offense to them, but I get it. I totally get it, because I don't like being forced to do those things too. Second mistake you made, you closed down the entrances to the roads that go into the forest lands. You still have people to this day who are coming up to me who are angry about that. That was a promise you even said that you broke, but yet the fact is, people are upset about it, and they're still upset about it, and that's going to be a problem that's going to hang over your head. That's part of the emotional animosity that they have towards taxes. The second thing is this easement thing the county started. I think John is probably a little bit more involved with that, but the easement thing with the property owners, I was just at a meeting at the Oaks Pavilion where I thought they were going to lynch you people. I mean, I couldn't believe how bad it got. And you're going to have to do the one on Thursday. You're going to have to do a lot better on that one, man. It's going to have to be filled out way better on that one. And hopefully we can get a solution to that, because if you don't, that's going to destroy any chances of this tax passing. Why? Because I go back to the emotional tenets into voting for these bills. It's not about the ONC lands, it's not about that type of money, it's about that emotional tenets that are going on. So there are a few things that you have to look at before you can get to this being passed. And some of those were mistakes, political mistakes that I think this board has made, even though I think you've done a lot of good stuff. And I have think you got a lot of good stuff, but politics, people don't look at the good stuff, especially when it's so bad out there, you know what I mean? People just don't look at the good stuff. Now my next question, and I have to have this answer before I can go on. You said there are 98 beds open up? I think there was only 48.
No, it's funded at 98.
It's funded at 98, but we don't have 98, right?
Well, Sheriff might be a better person to speak to this, but there's currently funded capacity of 98 beds, and so the point is that we would be increasing that capacity.
There's training involved.
I get that, thank you. I've been here too. I can acknowledge that, thank you. Got it. There are 48 beds. We have enough money for 98. We don't have people because hiring is the problem here because of training. And yes, there are other reasons for it because this state is so anti-cop. They've done the defund the police. They've done, pigs in a blanket, frying like bacon, all of it, and we've seen what we've done to the police around here. I don't know who would want to be a cop. I've got family members who are cops. And I tell you what, I feel sorry for them every time they have to go out and deal with people who have nothing but disrespect for the law and disrespect for their position. Who would want to be in that position? Who would want to take the job? I sure as hell wouldn't. So you've got that problem there, but the fact is I go back to that emotional plea on people. People are looking at the jail. They only see 48 beds. We've been promising, John, we've been talking about it for a while, having that sobering center. I think 2 years ago, we were talking about 8 months. A year ago, we were talking about 8 months. We're probably still talking about that 8 months it's going to take to opening up that sobering center. I don't know. I don't know where it's at, but it hasn't happened. The fact is, we still only have 48 beds. People are going to look at those results, and no matter whose fault it is, and I'm not blaming the sheriff, I don't even blame you guys. Once again, I go back to the justice system being broke from the top down, not from the bottom up. So this is going to be a problem for you because people don't believe that's going to be a situation that's going to be taken care of with this tax. That's going to be the major reason why it's going to fail. And everything that we've said, and I've been saying it a long time, and Matt Wilbanks came in here, David Jennings just said it, we've got to separate the law enforcement into its own district so that they get their own money for that district. And that's the only way people are going to trust that. And then if the sheriff doesn't do what he has promised to done or what he's guaranteed to do during that levy, then they'll not vote for it anymore because that's the politics of the situation. But you guys are tying your political mistakes to a safety levy that's going to fail because of the political emotions in it. And you can tell the story about the ONC lands all you want, the wagon roads all you want. It's not going to make a damn bit of business difference. Damn bit of difference, sorry.
Bob, I'd like to make one comment to you.
Yes.
And I will tell you that this sheriff does what he says he's going to do. He told us he was going to get a new public safety radio system. So all of the fire departments and all of the police forces in the county could talk together no matter where they were. He got it done. He told us, let me finish, Rob, I didn't interfere with you. He told us that he was going to get the second pod of the jail open. He's got the people hired, it's going to be open here in about a month and a half, Sheriff. He nodded yes. I have every confidence that this sheriff will do exactly what he said. He will find enough people to not only operate the second pod, for which we already have money, but also the third pod, which we direly need.
And do you think that's going to happen in time enough to be able to get your levy to pass?
He can't do it without the levy because he doesn't have the money without the levy, Rob.
So that's the problem.
Well,
It's a catch-22.
Well, Sheriff,
Please come.
get up here.
And Rob, thank you. No problem. And I gotta say, Rob, you're 100% correct, and it is gonna be a challenge, and I absolutely agree with you. And it is difficult, and it's a promise, kind of, that is, I'm hesitant to make, because it is gonna be very difficult. We have fished the candidate pool in Coos County very hard. We worked really hard to get where we're at. When I took over, it shakes the foundation. The sheriff's office is a tremendous place in the first place because it relies on the will of the people, and it will, and the will of the funding and of the commissioners, and it's always uncertain. We lost through retirement and through people leaving, through Sheriff Zanny leaving and Dan Looney, and we had a couple people go to Douglas County, and anyway, we lost about 12 people, and then the shortages that we had, and it was really difficult getting to where we're at. On the 12th of this month, we hired the last person for the full staffing of the jail. And that was a huge milestone, and it was a big party, and I had some drinks, and we had fun. It was wonderful. I mean, it was great. But we have a bunch in training, and we have the option to put everybody in the same class, which we put in May-June to graduate, to open the jail. And I said, no, let's please stagger them out so that we can open late April. Because, you're right, we have to have that proof. That proof is in the pudding for the ballot, to get it open quicker, because it has the wide range of impact for the whole county. We need the jail open. We have to have it. And I get that. And you're absolutely right. We have to have the money to hire people. If the ballot passes, we need 7 more deputies. And I don't, it's going to be tough to get them. It's not going to be quick.
I'm going to vote for it, Katie.
Me too. So, and you know, I don't want the extra taxes. Nobody does. I get it. It sucks. It's not going to be easy finding 7 more deputies, 7 more qualified people. That's going to be one hell of a lift. Excuse my language. And I don't know when that's going to happen. I can't promise it's going to be quick. But we have had a lot of internal discussions of where we're going to find them. We even talk about, you know, it used to be you go down to California because the post down there, you have to go through school first and then try to find an agency to hire you. And that used to be a great recruiting grounds. Unfortunately, that kind of went by the wayside. But we talked about going to California, to Washington, to really expanding out recruiting efforts. Contacting old people that didn't make it through, see if they want to try again. So if the levy passes, we're going to try, but I don't know how fast that'll be. Probably take a little bit. So you're right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Let's pass it.
So with all that, the odds are against you. And we'll see what happens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Had, Ginger?
Well,
Yes or no, it's up to you.
we've gone way past where I was going to comment. I was going to comment just to Chris on budget items. And I wanted to remind everyone, I'm sure the board knows.
Ginger?
Yes. Am I close enough?
Tell us what you used to do.
I was the director for Coos Health and Wellness. Yeah. So, what I wanted to remind the audience is that there's been no county general fund dollars in Coos Health and Wellness since 1995. Yeah. And removing any of those funding to help with safety, with sheriff, et cetera, would be considered Medicaid fraud. And that would be illegal to take that away. So looking for resolutions to the budget to do so would require a huge deficit, and we would be fined dramatically for doing that. So just want to make sure that Chris understood that. You cannot take that money.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Brecky, County Clerk. And just along those same lines, I heard a lot of talk of taking money from other departments. I just want you to I'll be aware that departments are very bare bones as it is staff-wise now. And if you look historically, we have had a lot more staff in all the departments. We're working with the number of staff that allow us to do the job that is required in statute by law. So in my department, in records, we're required to record every single day. There's only 2 people in there, and without those 2 people, we wouldn't be allowed, or we wouldn't be able to give sick days, we wouldn't be able to give vacation days, we wouldn't be able to give breaks that are required through the union. We're required by law to have that number of people. In elections, we run with 2 people. And during an election time, we have to hire part-time staff in order to do the elections. So I just want you to be aware that taking from other departments is not a possibility because we are in statute to run those departments. And if we don't, then again, we become liable to the state as well.
Julie, I have a question for you. Not speaking to legal ramifications, but rather to market ramifications. What would happen if the clerk's office just was no longer able to record real estate transactions? What would happen in the real estate world?
Well, if we don't record, then that becomes an issue with the state, is what I'm saying. So we're required by statute to record daily. So it's not an option. I mean, at this point, we have to record daily.
Yeah, I understand that.
So what would happen in the real
point
estate world? I can't really talk to what would happen in the real estate
Just
world.
imagine what would happen.
Well, to help out a little bit, if they don't record, then the assessor's office doesn't get the name changed on a particular property. The tax bill gets sent to the former owner, creates a whole big problem there. And eventually, the tax
It
collection
becomes a mess as
system,
far as taxes.
but eventually the tax collection system for 80-some taxing districts, all the cities, the diking districts, the drainage districts, you name it, fire districts, etc., don't get their funds.
Well, and additionally, who's going to buy a piece of property if it can't be legally demonstrated and recorded that they actually now own it? Who would do that?
Or that has clear title.
Exactly.
And so I guess what I'm saying is all of that is moot because at this point we're required by law to do it.
Yeah.
So whether it happens or doesn't happen, it matters in the long run, but for our decision, it doesn't because we're required to do it. Unless that law changes, we're gonna set ourselves up for a lawsuit, and then we're gonna be responsible for a lot more money than we're gonna be losing. So I just want to point that out. I hear a lot of talk about pulling the funds from other departments. I too am a fan of the sheriff's department, and I think they're doing a great job. So I'm not saying that I don't want funds to go to them. I'm just giving you the facts of the matter that we can't just start taking money from other departments without thinking about what the law says we're required to do.
Right, thank you. There was a hand in the back before you, sir. I think Phil was up next with your hand. Good morning, Phil. Just so I know, who else is going to want to speak to this issue before we move it on? Okay, I have 3 more. I have 4 more after Phil. Okay. All right, good morning.
Good morning to the board and all the people who are here. My name is Phil Thompson, but anyway, the first lady that came up here and spoke, that's a real good reason why I will never vote on something like this, because all of those shacks and stuff that's out there, it's not getting $300 tax bill on this new thing we're fixing to propose. They wouldn't be living in those kind of houses if they could pay the taxes they're already paying. That's my thing. The other thing is that I don't know what that gentleman was asked about commissioners getting a raise. And you said that's the compensation board. And that's true. But each one of you guys appoint a budget person. So who, you actually got the person appointed that's gonna give you a raise. So, it's a fact, it's a fact. So, I think that's one thing we should be changing, things like that, rather than trying to, put more people in checks than what's in them now. And the other thing is, I like the sheriff, I campaigned for it, and that's never hit, the proposal's not gonna make a difference to me, but I'm not gonna vote for it. And I think our DA, you guys took it on yourself, he's paid for the state, he's got a set salary, and you guys gave a $7,000 stipend to him.
That's right.
And
You know why we did that?
Well, wait here, let me finish. Why should you be giving somebody a raise that's already got a set salary? If the union stuff, they negotiate theirs. I don't care you saying, let's give that other guy there that works on the road
take away from your time, Phil, but I want to address that question because it's very important. We did authorize an additional stipend for the district attorney, and the reason for that was there are 2 levels of pay that district attorneys receive in Oregon. They're all paid by the state, and the DAs in the larger counties receive a certain amount, and the DAs in the smaller counties receive substantially less. The reality is that the smaller county district attorneys have a more difficult job because they have smaller staff, they are required to do more work personally, and their stress level thus is higher, their workload is higher, so it really should be the inverse of that. Now, what we were facing was the likelihood with the retirement of our current district attorney, who, God bless him, has continued to work for a lower wage than even some of his deputies. He is retiring, and that does become a reality for everybody at some point. So he's retiring, and we're faced with the choice of either incenting a highly qualified district attorney who meets with the approval of all of the people of Coos County, or abdicating that to the appointment from the governor. Now, do you want a district attorney appointed by Governor Tina Kotek, Phil? I don't, okay? And I mean, some people in this room may, but I think that's a very bad idea. So we passed that stipend in order to incentivize qualified candidates to run for district attorney who we can elect locally rather than have appointed from the governor's chair.
All right, now may I finish?
Yes, sir.
I think personally you set a precedent by doing what you've done. Now, the state's the one that you should be on to give him a raise. I don't know the process of going through the state to do it. But it isn't up to you to give the taxpayer dollars to somebody that's already got a set salary. That's paid by the state, not even paid. Right? Am I wrong, Bob?
It failed at the legislature last year and several years ago to make them all equal.
You can thank Multnomah County primarily for that.
Well, anyway, it's you guys' problem. I'm just going to tell you that I'm not going to vote for the levy because of just stuff like that.
Thank you, Phil. All right, I have him next, sir. And then this guy, and then you.
Yeah, Lauren Finella, homeowner in Myrtle Point, and retired pipefitter welder, was a millwright. And I just want to kind of back up because we skirted over a whole lot of issues here, like taxes, timber, our social services, and a mental issue in this county. I lived in Coos, Klickitat County in Goldendale, Washington State. I see the same thing. I knew the sheriff there. Bob Songer was the Klickitat County sheriff. Okay guy, but his deputy, sheriff was brilliant. He was a lawyer. He had conflict negotiations, resolutions with, issues of hostage negotiations and whatnot, and brilliant. And what I saw there, what I see here, is a revolving door in the police department. Somebody gets arrested. Case in point, the house next to my house And this issue about houses is pathetic, because this guy that was, that owned this 2-story, 4-unit, house, was basically a slumlord. And I see that about so many, people that own houses around here. They don't even live here. And this one particular guy owns probably about 500 houses. He goes in there and snatches up these houses for pennies on the dollar and turns them into like high-end housing. The rent on those places was like $300, $400. Someone on a pension could afford it. Now they're like $800, $1,200 a month. And I see this in a lot of these empty houses, like the woman that mentioned in the houses around here that are really dilapidated. They need work, and even the ones that are nice and sell for, one recently sold for they wanted $279,000 right across from the high school. Has so many issues in there that the poor lady living in there, and she's paying $1,400 a month, can't deal with it, the issues. I'm just saying that the taxes, as far as taxes go for me as a homeowner, I don't mind paying taxes if it's to help our police and fire department and our mental health, specialists. Because like I said, this whole thing about a revolving door in the police department is an issue. I mean, these people, this one guy next to me was beating up his wife every night, his partner. I called the police department, I don't know, probably a couple dozen times. They'd come, take him, put him in the police car, take him to jail. He has this smirk on his face, and he'd be out the next day, moving in with him. She finally got a restraining order. So I'm just saying that there's so many issues, and the timber industry really concerns me. I was a millwright, and I watched 6, 8, 10-foot diameter trees going into whole lot of chippers. If they weren't doing that, they were going up to Astoria and offshore to be turned into cans coming back into the U.S. or going in, and I can guarantee this, that there are like trees that are 2,000, 3,000 euros sitting in Tokyo Bay under the water. So a lot of the timber, right? Remember when we were all having to pay how much for a 2x4 during COVID?
Yeah.
That was bullshit, in my opinion. Excuse my French. But anyway. Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of issues here, and this is the first time I've seen your faces. I know John a little bit with the fairgrounds, and hope to have that.
Yeah, we get with you.
Yeah, so regardless of our political issues, left or right, it doesn't matter anymore. I think we all have an agreement that there's issues in DC. I was a radio program director, and I know I found my voice on the radio, and it's like, if we're not a solution to the pollution in Washington disease, then we got a problem. Whether it's with you guys or city council, and I want to know just who. I know you a little bit, but I don't know you. But it's okay. Just remember that I'm not the enemy. That I may have really different opinions than you, and not like what I see in politics, which I think is a bunch of nonsense. You keep the lobbyists out of Washington, D.C., you might have a different issue.
So, something you may not know, that all federal, state, county, city, any public timber cannot be exported.
Well, yeah, okay.
It's private timber that goes overseas, just goes overseas.
Yeah, well, I have a big issue with harvesting old growth trees. Once they're gone, they're gone. And the other issue and this is the last point I want to make about what I see in this, in clear-cut logging, is that these massive piles of that are lit on fire. I watched when, a few months ago, this blue smoke going down the valley, right? And that's fuel. Okay, those slash piles are being burnt when they could be turned into boiler fuel, hot fuel, whatever. And I think that needs to stop.
So, something else you may not know, that we've tried that in several instances and all over Oregon, have tried that, to have it transported in and then ground up and used for various products.
Biomass conversion is what I'm a big proponent
It's not
of.
economically infeasible unless the federal government does a subsidy for it. In fact, there's a huge one down at Lakeview, and they spent $18 million making this facility and never opened because they couldn't make it pay.
Well, I believe, I've studied alternative energy research and development. I basically started biodiesel in Portland, Oregon, when no one even knew what the word meant. Okay, converting a diesel engines into running straight veg oil.
Use of oil for food.
Well, that's another commodity that's being sent up to Salem to be converted into biodiesel, but anyway. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks, Art.
I appreciate it very much.
I forgot what public speaking.
Name and residence.
Mark Taylor, Coos Bay. I forgot what public speaking to or in front of a crowd is like, and it kind of makes me a little nervous, I have to tell you. I guess the whole point of this is how to get more jail beds. That's what they talk about, the timber situation is. Which also comes down to law enforcement and how to deal with it. My thought is, I know, well, I don't know, I know City of Coos Bay, you've taken an oath of office. You pledge that oath to the city, in this case, I assume it's the county, the state, and the federal government. Is that the same here? Is that what you guys
Well,
did?
not to uphold the Constitution, not to the government
Just that,
itself.
just to uphold the Constitution,
Yes.
not to the state, federal, and, now, on the sheriff, do you,
Sir, you need to talk to us.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to ask a question for the sheriff. Does he, did he swear to the county and the state and the federal government?
He did, when he was sworn in, he did an oath of allegiance.
So yes, yes, okay. And the reason I wanted to kind of clarify that, I didn't know you guys didn't do that, but the sheriff does it. I read a couple of months ago that the U.S. Attorney's Office was looking for help. Apparently they've been prosecuting people that broke into the Capitol on January 3rd or 6th. It was they're calling it insurrection and prosecuting a lot of people. But I read a couple of months ago that the U.S. Attorney was seeking help from the public about anybody now who was outside of the Capitol on that day. And so I was wondering, Sheriff, have you been in touch with the U.S. Attorney's Office regarding that? And is it my misunderstanding, or Mr. Taylor, were you there at that time? I mean, I've read lots of things saying you were. And I wanted to ask you personally, were you outside of Capitol during the insurrection attempt on January 6th?
Wasn't an insurrection.
That's what they're being prosecuted for.
So bullshit. I'll call this room to order.
Yes, and that's not brown sugar.
This room will be in order. Thank you. As a matter of fact, even though this is completely off topic with our current measure that we have a first and a second on and we're waiting on a vote for, I will not shrink from the fact that I went to Washington, D.C. to voice my opposition to a corrupt, stolen presidential election.
Jail for Mr. Taylor.
While I was there,
we have room enough no jail for Mr. Taylor. They're prosecuting people just like him.
So I clearly have no, yeah, there we go. Moving right along. There was somebody else, ma'am, you wanted to comment on the issue that is at hand today? Thank you very much.
Hello, my name's Kathleen Packer, and I'm a resident of North Bend.
Order, please. No side conversations, please. Thank you.
And I've never done this before, but I would like to say I moved here in 1978 as the wife of a newly hired forester for the Bureau of Land Management. Okay? During those years, 78, 79, 80, up until the point when the proverbial shit hit the fan with the spotted owl, the BLM was grossly over-harvesting.
Yes.
And so the county was rolling in dough. Obviously, we're not there any longer. A second point I'd like to raise is blaming the feds or the state for mismanagement of forests. Much of the wildfire issue is due to climate change, not to mismanagement. Yes, I will agree that in many cases the forests were mismanaged, but that's because the taxpayer was not willing to spend the money to manage the forests appropriately. So I came here to criticize the Board of Commissioners, but I will tell you, I support you. We are at the bottom end of paying property taxes in this state. So I would support a tax levy, and I will do everything I can to see that it's passed.
We've had extensive conversation on this question to approve Order 2402011L.
We have one.
Come on.
I know. I've done these meetings for free the last 7 years. I know how this goes. So folks have mentioned being here. I have to admit, I was born here in '85, so I don't have quite the depth of experience in the occurrences, but my family was in shipping and timber when the spotted owl issue hit, so we had some problems.
For the audio, please, Drew, name and residence.
Oh, yeah. Drew Farmer, Coos Bay. Yep, covered that. House resale, that came up. Of course, y'all do that. Bob used to be in charge of it, so he's going to be the most knowledgeable. I believe he bought several of them at that time. Say again?
Elected officials cannot buy tax foreclosed properties. It's against the law.
You weren't elected at the time, were you? Oh, it doesn't
And I
matter.
didn't
That
buy
was a
any
separate
foreclosed
thing.
properties ever.
Okay.
An oft-repeated myth.
Okay. If you want to see what happens when the system shuts down, the digital system, the registering properties, you can look at Curry County, just as an example, your lowest paid system in the state, that they're our only competitor for the lowest money, of course. I learned that from John. Thing I wanted to bring, also with the timber industry, you probably want to pay attention to a current issue. We've had 3 mills shut down in the state this year already due to the new regulation changes, about 200 jobs lost. So just a thing to track locally and currently. Thing I wanted to bring up was veterans, actually, as it applies to the budgeting process. I've had current county employees and past county employees coming to me asking why the county wants to cut 26% of the budget for veterans, veteran services. So that's your current employees telling me they received this direction, and your past employees telling me.
Not that I know.
I know nothing about it.
It's your folks in charge of those departments,
Do you
so
have
you may want to
documents? Can you
clarify.
provide evidence of
Say
this?
again?
Do you have anything to demonstrate that this is true?
I can get the written statements if you like. It was conversational at this time, and it was your current staff, some of them. So it's
Well,
easy to demonstrate.
They're inaccurate.
Okay. Well, That's not what your current staff are saying. The concern here, that's a federally funded program. So that being the case, and from past staff that worked for you indicating that in 2013 there was a certain budget and that budget did not increase commensurate with the rate of increase from the feds, the question then comes up where that excess funding went, because it's pass-through money for the feds. And a 26% reduction in veteran services, of course I work at Operation Rebuild Hope right now, so we hear a lot about this.
Alleged 26%.
Alleged 26%. That'll be the next question, of course. I'll get you some written material, we'll get some statements and bring it in, but that is the question at hand. 26% cut to veteran services allegedly, federal pass-through money, why? So.
The short answer is it didn't happen. Your information is incorrect.
Kind of like Ian's
I'll get statements. It'll be okay.
I don't know.
There's some conversation right now.
Okay, so we've had, again, a lot of discussion on this particular agenda item. Is there any discussion online? We've had plenty in the room. Seeing none, I will call for a vote
Good idea.
to approve Order 2402-011L. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Item number 3N, payment of invoice for AOC dues. Commissioner Sweet.
Okay, we are a member of the Association of Oregon Counties. And as part of that, the Council of Forest Trust Lands, that is the council that tries to work with the Oregon Department of Forestry relative to administration and management of those lands that Bob talked about. The Association of Oregon Counties is a good association. They represent the interests of the counties before the legislature and have a good system for doing that. We talked about a proposal, I think, here. The state had to charge a property tax. That's always been the province of local governments, and the state is run by income taxes. Now they want to get into the property tax business. And I know that the Association of Oregon Counties was at the table when this was considered in legislative committee, and the word I had back was that they thought that was pretty much dead on arrival. So that's just an example of the things that the Oregon, or Association of Oregon Counties do for us. We would pay dues to continue membership there of $35,079.71 this year. If we don't, then we're no longer represented by them. I think that representation is important. So therefore, I move we approve paying the AOC invoice DUEF dues 20024 COO in the amount of $35,079.71.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Not for me. With the impending shortfall coming up, $35,079.71 to AOC, which I don't feel we get a whole lot from, I cannot vote for this invoice.
Can I point out that this is paid out of economic development funds and that can't be used for salaries?
I get our money's worth myself. I've been part of that for many years, and when they have their annual meeting in Eugene, usually, they all get together and they all gripe about stuff, they all have dinners, and then they all go home, and nothing happens. I haven't gone for several years because of that. It just irritates me that they really don't do anything to change, make a positive change forward.
All right, so in order to advance discussion, I will second the motion. And I have a couple of comments pertaining to this. I'm frankly a little bit conflicted, because I do see, on one hand, I see value that the AOC does provide to the county through the representation that they afford. However, there also, I see failures in terms of, number one, they're noticing the counties of particular legislation of concern that will negatively impact the counties. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the Association of Oregon Counties will only take a position on a bill if it is a unanimous vote in the legislative committee. The problem that presents is, the reality, whichever side of the aisle, we don't all agree on everything, okay? Whichever side of the aisle you're on, the fact is the fact that 30 of the 36 counties in Oregon tend much heavier to the right than to the left. The larger counties tend more to the left than the right. And so what you have is a disparity in representation when you have a vote in legislative committee that is not unanimous. Then the interests of the 30 counties are not served, and that's a problem for me. So I'm not inclined either way, and I really do feel like we need a little bit. I think we need a little bit more robust analysis and discussion regarding this question right here. And so,
Rob, can we table this? Because
that was exactly what I was.
You and I agree on the process
Well,
there, so
that
that itself would make a difference.
Well, that was exactly what I was
so
going to ask you for,
Let's
John.
do that. Let's table this and revisit.
I will second the motion to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep, and table. Not gonna change my vote though.
Okay. Well, at least it'll be an edifying discussion.
Well, again, we're looking at this big shortfall, and we're paying, my personal opinion, we're not getting a whole lot for it.
I
disagree, but let's look into that.
There is the point that Bobby raised, that that payment would come out of the Economic Development Fund, which we can't use for very many things. Okay, item 3O, letter to the BLM, Commissioner Maine.
Oh, cooperating agency status?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, in my earlier discussion about going to the Supreme Court and all, on the BLM's Resource Management Plan, otherwise known as RMP, now we find out that even if we win Supreme Court, they're going for RMP number 2. But they refuse to deal with the counties in the cooperating agency status, which they have to by federal law. So we are going to ask by each county, the state office of the BLM in Portland, to request cooperating agency status. So we can be at the table when they talk about RMP2.
That is Resource Management Plan,
Yeah.
Forest Management Plan. And this is very important. And that would give us a little more leverage as a county. Whether it'll do any good or not remains to be seen. I doubt it, but I don't think we can not try.
It sounds like the beginnings of a motion.
But we only found out about it by an internal person who remained to be anonymous about the whole thing. They did, even at our meeting with the BLM here a while back on our AOCC, the Association of ONC Counties, they didn't even bring up the subject, but we found out about it.
Well, I move that we sign a letter to the BLM recommending that each individual county, or that the counties through AOCC, the Association of Oregon of ONC Land Counties, be given cooperating agency status with the BLM.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, any in the room?
I'm optimistic that we're going to have this status, and I'm optimistic that we're going to pass a safety levy, and so let's get this done
You're a
right
veritable
now.
fount of optimism.
Yes. I hate all this negative.
Any comments online? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye. Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second. All in favor, or any discussion on the consent calendar? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, late agenda items. Now, I will introduce each of the 4 late agenda items. I realize that these 4 agenda items, likely the impetus for the attendance of many in the room. There are some who came in, some who left. I don't know who heard and who didn't hear, but for the benefit of everybody's information, I am not going to move for a vote on these items today. And the reason is because there's some language problem with, a lack of impartiality. So we're going to go through and revise and reconsider on some of these, actually on all of them. And I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm speaking right now. Just so you know, I am not interested in having 2 hours of discussion on these questions in a session when we're not even going to vote on them. Okay, these are going to be voted to table today, is my suspicion, and so that's what's going to happen.
So I would move that we do table late agenda items A, B, or 5A, B, C, and D until we can set a public work session, and we'll have that scheduled as soon as possible.
Can we vote to table 4 in a row like that with a single vote, council?
There's no hard rule against it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
That sounded like a motion and a second and a vote for tabling these topics. Thank you very much. Okay.
Aye.
Do we have the, let's move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Sweet.
In the interest of time, I will pass. I think
Okay.
I want to leave room for public
Commissioner May?
comments.
Yesterday, went out and helped 3 folks, 2 of the fair board members and a 4th party.
Good.
We cut down a number of fake myrtle trees that were overhanging the office and going to be a danger, and pulled out a whole bunch of other shrubbery, and the Rose Society is going to go in and plant roses instead. And then we worked on a sliding door for the new building down to concessions. One of those barn type sliders. We got that about out there too.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pass on my commissioner comments as well. I don't have the citizen comments sheet.
I'll get it. Safe steps, you got it.
All right. So we have an extensive list of requests for citizen comment here.
Scratch my
So
knob.
what I'm going to ask is, as I read down this list, if you have reconsidered the priority of your speaking today, please just go ahead and pass. If somebody has already said exactly what you were thinking, just when your name is called, just say, I agree with that person, and sit back down. And in order just to expedite this meeting for the sake of us all. And finally, I would say that we are going to, even though we're normally pretty lax on the time constraints, I think you would probably all agree, we are going to stick to a 3-minute standard on these comments today. Okay? And Counselor will be keeping time and advising me of when the time is up. All right. First up, David Jennings. Next is going to be Chris Castleman.
Thank you for your time. I know it's been a long meeting. I just wanted to say a couple things. First of all, I'll get the hard part for me right off the bat. You know, I have a lot of differences with Mr. Taylor, Commissioner Taylor, but I do think as a commissioner that he is dedicated to being fair in the way he conducts businesses, and I think he's interested in administrating the county and focusing on the welfare of the county, which I think is the minimum that you need to expect from a county commissioner. So I've been pleasantly surprised by that. I think I ought to say that publicly because I've said many negative things about it.
Thank you.
And then to close out, you know, what I was going to say, a lot of these proposed advisory ballot measures that you have, you know, the county doesn't really have a lot of power to really implement those. And many of them are very, very controversial. And one of the things that's very precious that commissioners are competent is commissioner time. So, you know, we see how explosive some of these cultural war issues are and arguments about the election and whether the DC thing was an insurrection or not. But they really don't have much, if anything, to do with the county. So it'd be nice as much as possible if the board concentrated on the issues that they control and on the administration of the county. And I'll just leave you with that thought.
Thank you, David. Next is going to be Abigail.
I wanted to talk about integrity and honesty. So Rob Taylor, he's a smart Rob, the radio or ex-radio guy, not you. He brought up the numbers that were proposed in the levy, for the language in the levy. I'm going to read something from the newsletter from the commissioners that I just got in my email the other day. It says, with lacking resources, the jail, which has 4 pods, only operates at half its capacity. It's my understanding the jail is operating with 1 pod, and it has 5. Half of its capacity would be 2.5 pods.
He's referring to the funded.
I understand that, but it doesn't say that. Yeah, it doesn't say that.
It's a lack of clarity in the language.
It's a lie. And then in the ballot language, it says, this measure will raise revenue to increase the capacity in the Coos County Jail to 147 adults in custody. That's true. An additional 49 beds over its current 98 bed capacity. That's a lie. I understand you're going to say that it's funded, then change the language. But you've already voted on it, so you voted on a lie. You all know that it's a lie, and you decided to vote on it anyway, knowing that you're lying. And if you're lying about that, what else are you lying about? What other language in here is wrong? What other numbers in here are completely inaccurate?
What are you reading from?
This is the ballot. This is what you just voted on earlier. An additional 49 beds over its current 98 bed capacity. This is on your agenda. This is exactly what you voted on. There are only 49 beds available. You can ask the sheriff. I think he's still back there. He is. He's a smart guy. He knows how to count. And it seems like someone up here who wants to take credit for it knows how to lie. So anyways, I'll end it with this. I think the guy left, but I never think the sheriff would do this. He's a pretty good guy. But if anyone ever wants to arrest a county commissioner for having freedom of speech at our U.S. Capitol, he can do it over my dead body.
That's right, baby.
Dean Bricky is going to be next. Are you still here, Dean? Oh, yeah.
Good, I guess it's afternoon, commissioners.
Not quite, but almost.
Okay. Abigail BOC, resident of Coos Bay. Despite the fact that the 4 late agenda items have been tabled, I wanted to speak briefly to 3 of them by way of offering some context for your work session. All 3, described as advisory votes, rest on vague, unsupported premises for their justification. Where is it demonstrated, for instance, that, quote, a plurality of Coos County voters believe that elections operations are in need of reform? If polls were conducted on this topic in Coos County, I never heard of them. Where's the harm in simply asking questions? I can think of 2 potential harms in that. Number 1 is if the question is based on a false premise, it can only lead to misleading answers. 2, if the question leads the public into believing in an impossible outcome, it spreads confusion and chaos. I would argue that both concerns are relevant in the present case. I'll take the question specifically of whether we should change to an appointed clerk as an example. I believe that conducting an advisory vote on the subject would be a waste of time and only to serve to encourage the spread of damaging misinformation about how government works in Oregon. My reasons are these. Even if a home rule charter were passed in the county that called for an appointed county clerk, that person would still be required to follow all election rules and procedures set out by the Secretary of State's office. Under Oregon law, tested by extensive legal precedent, elections are defined as matters of statewide concern. So the way they are conducted is determined by the state, and local practice must defer. Appointing a county clerk and then pressuring that official to set up non-standard election procedures would have no effect but to compel the state to sue the county, which would cost the county dearly. In a time of severe county budget crisis, that's something we can't afford, and bringing it down on our heads could be considered malpractice on the part of the Board of Commissioners. And this proposal would only give rise in the public's mind to mistaken ideas about what home rule can and cannot achieve. The very premise of this proposal is counterintuitive. There is no greater accountability for a public office holder than a vote of the people. Having that office holder appointed by 3 commissioners would reduce accountability, not increase it. Briefly to close, I'd like to turn to 2 of the other proposed measures, election reform and school choice. In the case of both of these advisory votes, the stated goal is to decide whether the Board of Commissioners should advocate at the state level for changes in state laws. I would like to suggest to the commissioners that they are paid by the citizens of Coos County to manage and oversee the provision of basic services, and that's where their energies should be devoted, especially in a time of budget crisis. If they wish to involve themselves in statewide politics, they are free as citizens to do so in their spare time. If the Board of Commissioners start freelancing on the taxpayers' dime, the taxpayers will remember it at the ballot box.
You bet.
Thank you for your time.
Next, after Mr. Bricky, is going to be Gary Gregor.
I just want to introduce myself. I'm Dean Bricky. I live here in Coquille. I'm a retired journalist, and I'm doing some freelance writing for The World.
Welcome here.
Gary Gregor. Next is going to be Martha Gregor.
Well, Mr. Taylor, just keep your hands off of our election system.
Can you please
and keep your hands off of our educational system. Everything is just fine the way it is.
Everybody who speaks, Mr. Gregor,
why are you interrupting me?
Because you haven't observed protocol by introducing yourself on the microphone.
My name is Gary Gregor. You gave my name.
The protocol of these meetings, if you're engaging in public comments, citizen comments,
Yes.
is that when you get to the microphone, you introduce yourself with your name and your city of residence. We have everyone do that. There's no special.
I'm Gary Greger from North Bend.
Thank you, Mr. Greger.
You're very welcome. So, should I repeat myself then, or did you hear me?
I believe everybody in the room heard you.
Did you hear me? Because you were busy telling me how I should act.
No, sir. I was actually explaining to
Just
the protocol
stay out of this stuff, and I would
citizen
certainly
comments
hope
in the
that
room.
Mr. Maine and Mr. Sweet, if this comes to a vote, will vote no on this kind of BS. This is ridiculous stuff. And you're not bringing Donald Trump to Coos County.
Martha, already here, Next up, order please. Next up is going to be Dina McDonald after Mrs. Greger.
Martha Greger, North Bend.
Good afternoon.
I would like to say that you were elected by mail-in ballots. The ballots were counted and overseen by our elected county clerk. The system works. Obviously, you're sitting there. Let's not take the time and energy to change what works. I would like you all to spend energy on the real problems, not imaginary problems, because you're providing solutions to no problem. Thank you.
Dina McDonald, and next is going to be Vanessa Raines.
My name is Dina McDonald. I live in North Bend. I want to voice my opinion on voting. I want the right to vote by mail as a senior citizen. If you allow this to take place, you will be making it harder for the working class, the senior community, and the disabled community to vote and go to a polling place. This is a form of discrimination. By making this change, you will not only hurt all political parties, not just one, all of them.
After Ms. Raines is going to be... Oh, I think this is Hollingsworth. Mr. Hollingsworth, yeah. Okay.
Hi, this is Vanessa Raines from Myrtle Point. Our two greatest resources is our kids and our natural resources. And the thing is a lot of these questions, these are questions, simple questions. We need demographics. We need freedom of thought. If we keep suppressing all this stuff, I mean, how do you know the demographics of this community? These are questions. I don't know what everyone's afraid of. It's a suppression of a voice. These are questions. All they have to say is yes or no. There is problems with our elections. I witnessed it. We just didn't get our day in court because we do have all Democratic legal judges in this state, which is true.
No, it's not.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Also, as far as local control, we're losing local control every day, every time the legislative is voting things. Right now they've got bills trying to equalize taxes in our own county. We also are losing control of our forests. We're losing control of curriculum at the state level. School choice is very important. There's news articles that are coming out right now that I just saw that it puts our education here in shape. One is, it came out just recently, Winter Lakes is between the 8th and 12th grade, 300 students, they're getting C- or worse grades. This was supposed to be the big shining star. These kids aren't getting, they're getting a very poor education right now, and their prolificity coming out, reading and writing and arithmetic is very poor. Also, Coos Bay, there is a massive exodus right now. There's another article, 5 Oregon towns, people fleeing as soon as possible this year. Coos Bay is on it. And a lot of these policies that people are talking about right now, these are very important to us. Our kids are very important. Choice will create competition and we're going to get better results from it if we can do that. Also, election reform, that's pinnacle right now. It's very pinnacle that we are able to know that our vote counts. Right now, we have not cleaned the voter rolls, period. We have a broken system with the DMV. It's broken. There are people with vacation homes in Bandon and Brookings and all over the place that have houses. They're voting here and voting in another location. And it's proven. We've already got evidence of that. Thank you.
Thank you. After Mr. Hollingsworth will be Dulce Havel.
Thank you, gentlemen. Bob Main, Rod Taylor, John Sweet. You each know me personally. You know who I am. I would like to extend my appreciation to you gentlemen.
I need you to
Oh, I'm sorry.
introduce yourself.
I'm Lawrence Hollingsworth, and I'm from Bandon.
Thank you.
And I greatly appreciate what you do. I would not be able to do what you gentlemen work on all the time. It's more complicated than I think the average person understands. And with that said, and my appreciation, we have an awesome county. We have a lot of really good people here. As you know, I'm a constitutionalist, and I believe in following the laws of the land. And I believe that you men also follow the Constitution. Is that correct? Yes? You would all do that? And I thank you that we're not Portland. And you know, what's going on is one of the worst in the United States. You know, and for what it's worth, codes, rules, and regulations that are not in harmony with the Constitution is not enforceable law. And with that said, I guess one of my final code thing is that I believe in voting in person. I believe that I have my personal thoughts that I will not speak, but I think you can tell by my hat. And I thank all you people, Republicans and Democrats and Independents, for being here today and voicing your opinions, whether I agree with them or not. You have a right and title to do that, and that's why we're here. And I thank you again, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
And after Dulce Havel, we'll have Dennis Hitchcock still in the room.
Okay, my name is Dulce Havel, and I'm from Bandon. And first of all, thank you, commissioners, for giving us the opportunity for this input. And I'm speaking about the proposals for the ballot that I know now they're tabled and all that, but I still like to give my input since I came here. So regarding the vote by mail, there are many reasons folks are not able to get to a polling place to vote on a specific day. They might have conflicting schedules, people have busy lives with children and work, or maybe they need to be out of town all of a sudden and they can't do it. I know that's happened to me. But some people don't have transportation, there could be unsafe weather conditions, or a polling place is just too far away. And sometimes people are just too exhausted from their lives to be able to get the gumption to go out to the polling place. And that's maybe not an excuse, but I'm just giving the reasons that things happen. It used to be that communities were smaller and life was slower. And I realize we live in a rural community,
but still things seem to have speeded up. It used to be, I'm 74 years old, I used to be able to get to a polling place really easily. And I know that there are parts of this state, and this is a state law that you're thinking of changing, where people have difficulty getting from one place to another. And even in a rural place, you can have someone, it's just too far to get to the polling place. Voting by mail has proven to be the best way in this day and age for everyone to have their voice heard. The more citizens who are able to cast their vote and tell us what they think, the healthier our democracy will be. Okay, and just
It's a republic.
yeah. And so anyway, I'd just like to talk if I can. Regarding the right for citizens to elect the person who runs the county election office, it is important to let the people decide with their vote who is going to run for county elections office. Please don't take this away from us. And that's all I'll say about that. And lastly, the wind turbines, I'm not going to speak to that because I don't really know much about it. So, regarding taking money away from our public school system to give to parents, I am pretty passionate about this. For example, if somebody wants to have a private police or firefighters protect their home, I mean, we wouldn't even think of giving them money to do this. You know, people pay for that themselves.
That was your timer, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yep.
so, yeah.
what?
3 minutes.
Your 3 minutes is.
Oh, so I can't even finish.
I'm
Even
sorry.
when
So Dennis Hitchcock, and after Dennis Hitchcock is going to be Mr. Roblin. Is Arnie Roblin still here? So next is going to be Jenny Jones, who I think is still here. Yeah, okay.
Gentlemen, my name is Dennis Hitchcock, and I live in Bandon. I've been around Oregon for almost 40 years, been a property owner and taxpayer in the county for 37 years, and I'm now, as of last year, a permanent resident of Oregon. In terms of the election reforms, I would have to say that it appears to me the system works. It's certainly an expansion of democracy, and anything to change the current system, I think, would restrict democracy rather than increase it. Mr. Taylor, you are a beneficiary of the current system. In the morning after the election, I was at Bandon going to raise early in the morning. Some of your signs, which I should compliment you, you were very thorough in getting your signs out there, had already had the word stolen written across the front of them. So some people, it seemed, anticipated a problem that didn't happen. There was an extensive recount, and here you are today under the current system. School choice, public education. I grew up in Montana, a small rural school. 8 kids in my grade school class, 30 in my high school class. Everybody went to school. Haves, the have-nots, the have-nothings, they all went to school. In my high school, the banker's daughter went to school with me. The farmers were there, the immigrant workers were there. We all went to school together. We played sports together. We did activities together. And anything else that we needed to learn, religion, ethics, other kinds of ideas, were given to us at our dinner tables at home. In terms of the county clerk position, I think your proposal would be anti-democratic. It removes the situation where the voters of the county get to decide who the county clerk is. Let's not kid ourselves, this is about elections. That's what your proposal is aimed at. And I would just say that we the people means the voters of Coos County. It doesn't mean me, the commissioner, that gets to decide who the county clerk is. Thank you.
Jane Jones.
I've passed, people have made my comments.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Caddy, I think Caddy McCune is gone. So then we have Dana Gobb. Dana Gobb, still in the room?
He's right there. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there you go.
I missed that, sorry. Dana Gobb, North Bend. I want to say that I agree 100% with the people that have spoken in opposition to these advisory proposals. And that said, I'll keep further comments out until after these proposals are rewritten, so I might better understand them and find out how to oppose them. I'd like to end with a quote from someone that I think is one of the most seminal thinkers of the past 100 years, and that is that a thing is right if it intends to preserve the integrity, the stability, and the beauty of the biotic community. And we are the biotic community. A thing is wrong when it tends otherwise. That was Aldo Leopold, Sand County Almanac.
Thank you. Okay. Pam Lewis. And after Pam is going to be John Emily. Is John Emily still in the room? I don't know. I cannot read this name at all. It's a scribble.
John Meineck.
Okay. All right, Pam.
Pam Lewis, Coquille. I reserve my comments for when we have a work session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right. After John is going to be Julie Breck.
Sorry about my handwriting. The name is John Meineck. It's M-E-Y-N-I-N-K. I live in North Bend.
Okay.
I'll be brief. Also, many of the points that I was going to make have been made. I would certainly oppose any of these proposed changes to the election law. In general, I'm certainly in favor of vote by mail. I agree with the people that have spoken before that it has increased democratic participation, and I don't think that should be changed. The only point I was going to make in addition was that I've been in our criminal justice system through my working years, and I am aware, I know Paul Frazier, our district attorney, I think pretty well, and I'm confident that he would prosecute any election fraud if, or any irregularities if evidence were presented to him in that regard. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay. After Julie is going to be Sandy Cullenward. Sandy still here?
Good afternoon, Julie Brecky, Coos County Clerk. First off, a lot of these points that were already touched on by our League of Women Voter Representative here.
I came as a private citizen.
Okay. But I would like to touch on them briefly again, because what I would like to say is I agree with Mr. Hollingsworth that we have the right to voice our opinion, and putting an advisory question on the ballot is definitely part of that. So I'm not opposed to that in any way. The issue comes about when we look at the facts that are placed into this question and the summary. So making sure that when you do reword, that you actually file the 805, which is a 7-day challenge notice of so you have to file that first. The one that you filed, or the one that I have a copy of that you wrote was the 801. So making sure that you're doing that first. Also, there are some factual pieces that need to be checked in what you have, and I hear you when you say that you're going to reword this, and I was happy to hear that, because what is in there now is a bit misleading to the voter, and I would hate to waste our taxpayer dollars or our time and efforts on something that we couldn't actually have affect a change for. And as the one that has to do with appointing the county clerk, first of all, we would have to be a home rule county, so I think that would be the first question you'd want to ask. And then second on that, it says to centralize accountability. I want you to be aware that even if the county clerk was appointed, accountability would still be the same that it is now. So the wording to centralize the accountability is very misleading to the voter. It also says the main reason for this measure would be to challenge the command structure so the clerk would be more responsive to the county's needs instead of that what the Secretary of State dictates. And that again would not be possible. ORS 254.465 says elections are to be conducted by mail. ORS 254.470 says procedures for conducting elections by mail, and you can read those. But the SOS is in charge of election rule, and if we don't follow those rules, then we do put ourselves out there for legal issue. The other point that I wanted to make was I know that that you wrote in the one about election reforms to increase accountability. That's not something, again, we have the control over. This one says state law currently dictates the elections are to be conducted by mail. You're correct there. A statewide ballot measure would likely need to change this, and as a county, you can't put forth a statewide ballot measure that has to be done by the legislator. It is something that you can do on your own private time, however.
Maybe it would make sense to have you on our work
good
session.
job.
Yes, I would love to hear when that would be. I would definitely be a part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Oh, we can hear now? Sandy Cullenward? And Mo Aker is gone. Okay, that's, let's see, we got a second sheet. I didn't even see that.
I was gonna say, I know our.
This second sheet is also completely full, so I hope you folks have all used the bathroom, had enough to drink.
Where is it?
Our next meeting, just so we all know in the room, is in 1 hour and 10 minutes. I can skip lunch, that's fine. I know these two can afford to skip a lunch, so. All right, Kathleen Packard is up next, and then after that, Timothy Sheridan.
My name is Kathleen Packard. I'm a resident of North Bend. And I will only take a moment to reiterate what's already been spoken. First of all, why are you seeking public opinion on matters that are outside your authority? Issue 1, your agenda is obvious, as is anyone's agenda who chose to be at the Capitol on January 6, 2020. Our mail-in voting is proven. It is vastly more efficient and less prone to either fraud or human error. Why on earth would we want to change it? This is not the South or the Midwest. This is Oregon, and we are data-driven, not open to the lies that are promulgated by the MAGA minority.
Yeah.
Number 2, take the office of county clerk out of the hands of the public and make it an appointment by county commissioners such as yourselves. Sounds to me like you want your fingers in the pie. Manipulation of the vote would be so much easier with these 2 changes. Number 3, making the money follow the child would emasculate public education, which is necessary for sound democracy.
The mental illness is the way it stands.
If you want a Christian nationalist curriculum, you can teach your children on Sunday or in the mornings before school like the Mormons do. My tax dollars should not go to preaching your personal belief system. Number 4, the subject of offshore wind farms is complex, and there are various opinions. My feeling is that we need to do our part in reducing our dependence on fossil fuels. There may be negative consequences, there always are, but we need to do what we can to advance alternative energy sources. I am a supporter of yes in my backyard, or YIMBY. These are my opinions, but for the life of me, I can see no legitimate purpose for seeking the public's opinion on matters that are outside your purview.
Hello? Oh, you didn't hear me.
You're not going to quote us? I'm joking.
No.
Just a joke.
Okay. I appreciate that, you know, it's easy to get emotionally involved in support of what somebody has said. You're really slowing this meeting down by doing it. I will say the name one more time. Timothy Sheridan. Is Timothy here? Dee Dee Murphy. Is Dee Dee still here?
I am.
All right.
And I just would like to agree with what Abigail said.
Thank you, Dee Dee. All right, Drew Farmer. Still here, Drew? Drew left. John, oh, here's John Meinig. Meinig? So you already, so this other John was somebody else. That wasn't you who had the bad writing, because I can actually read your writing. All right, Margaret Frontella. Kay Marino.
I'm liking this.
Don Andrist. Or is it anybody named Andrist? I can't read the first name. All right, Doro Reeves. Natalie Ranker. Very good. We have it. Okay.
Do it yourself.
Broke my kneecap. I really feel that all of these issues have been brought about to take power away from the people of Coos County, and I think you need to consider us more. In 1998, 70% of the people of Oregon approved vote by mail. And since then, every year, Oregon has more voters per ballot, per election rather, than any other state. I think that is something to consider and to take the ability. Will you tell this man to please be quiet?
Please let's not comment in the room, everybody.
Sorry.
Anyway, I feel that vote by mail is helpful to everyone. In terms of our county clerk, once again, I think you're trying to take power away from the people. You're putting it onto the Secretary of State, but our county clerk is elected by the citizens of Coos County, and she does a job for the citizens of Coos County, and we would like to see her remain there. Your dangers of school choice. Our schools need all of the money that has been taxed for them, and if people want more of a family-oriented, religiously-oriented, whatever curriculum, that should be done in the home. And as far as wind energy, I think we don't know nearly enough about it. The wind energy is going to destroy our estuary almost as badly as the container terminal would, and we need to look at that.
We need to look at the transmission. I wouldn't be surprised if all of the easements purchased by Jordan Cove years ago could be sold to whatever, be it the government, whatever company is going to be putting up the transmission lines, and that can be just as big an offense for our ranchers, our farmers, and whatever. Please consider us. Thank you.
John Travold, TR something OLD. Jim Bennett. After Jim Bennett is Tim Pierce.
Well, forgive me, but Jim Bennett, I'm going to repeat myself again. We have a rule book. It's not complicated. If you're playing golf and you shank one, you can't just go and throw the ball. We have a rule book. If you're an American, and especially everyone took their oath, we have a rule book. Our admission into the Union was predicated on our having a Republican form of government. Now that's not Democrat or Republican.
No, it's not.
It means that we have a representative republic. I'm going to talk about just in the small event that it makes a difference to a couple of people that are watching. I came across something this month. What's happening during this coup in the war that we're in, this takeover of our country, is the institutions have been weaponized. It's insidious. That's how it's happening. And what's going on, which is completely illegal and unconstitutional, is our universities have been weaponized. They've taken the liberty, pun intended, of making mainly Portland State University a government agency. And what's happening is our voice, which is central to this whole thing, is being subverted and perverted and replaced with a consensus process. Now, collaboration and consensus sounds warm and fuzzy, but it completely takes the people out of the process. Now, the fastest way I can think of to get up to speed on this intrusion, this trespass, is to go to National Policy Consensus Center out of Portland State University. Simply spend a little time on there, sniff around, you'll get a feeling for what's going on. And most importantly, click at the top of the page where it says projects and look at the highly impactful seismic stuff that's in the queue that will affect millions and millions of people. And no matter what side of the aisle you're on, I think you'll agree that your voice is being taken out of the mix. And it's illegal and it's unconstitutional. And it is the tool that we can use to prevent the overreach that we're seeing. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Pierce. After Tim is going to be Susan Foreman. Still here, Susan? Maybe not. Okay.
Tim Pierce, Bandon, Oregon. I just wanted to kind of address this levy coming up here. One of the planks of the communist government, the communist philosophy, is property taxes. Another plank is confiscation of property for not paying those taxes. At some point, you're going to start taxing people off their land. An example is myself. A year and a half ago, my wife passed away. My personal income, you might want to say, dropped in half. Yet, property taxes are still the same. Phone bill's still the same. All these things are still the same. Now, I'm fortunate enough, I ain't going to lose my house or anything like that, but I'm going to be blessed that way. And you have to really think about these people and the state being so benevolent, saying, well, you can defer your taxes and we'll just throw a bunch of interest on there so your family heirs will not get the house that the state will confiscate it. You got to think these things out a little bit further than just our needs right now. You got to think of the needs of all the people here. Anyway, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Tim. Frances Smith. Frances here?
She's gone.
She's gone. Paula, something AW? Paula, no. John Jones.
I'm here.
You are up, sir.
Thank you, friends, and thank you, commissioners. My name is John Jones. My mailing address is Myrtle Point. I live out in Bridge, Oregon. And I have lived here in Coos County for over 40 years. I would like to just comment on one of my favorite American authors, Mark Twain. He used to say that he kind of felt like the definition of the patriot is the guy that's shouting the loudest
Mr. Jones,
about something he doesn't know anything about. And I appreciate people showing their appreciation to people who speak here today, including myself, but I don't want to applause if there is anything you want to applaud me for. And I'd appreciate no booing, but if you want to boo, I'm not going to pressure you right to boo.
Mr. Jones, really,
you can do that.
You're addressing the...
I realize that, sir. But what I do want to say is that I come from a Church of the Brethren background, much like the Quaker tradition and also the Mennonite tradition, simple living being the idea. In the Quaker tradition, sometimes when someone gets up to speak, they will say, I appreciate my sister or my brother. They speak my mind. And so today I want to say, I appreciate this sister right over here on the end of this chair. I appreciate this sister in the light green blouse. I appreciate that man with the ponytail back there. Those are sisters and brothers who have spoken my mind. And there's one above all that I appreciate, and that is our county clerk, Ms. Brecky. I appreciate my sister's words. She speaks my mind. And I'll leave it at that. I want to emphasize the address of our county clerk, Brecky, Julie Brecky. She speaks my mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr.
I have something to say.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
He makes the best clam chowder I've ever tasted.
Well, it's my wife, actually, Bob. Actually, it is my wife, Margaret. Thank you.
When are we
All right.
coming to dinner?
Next up is Laura Fennell?
Lauren.
Lauren.
I'll repeat myself again. Lauren Fennell, homeowner of Myrtle Point. I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'd like to leave politics for a moment aside. You know, left, right, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, I don't care. Well, I've been studying history and take Palestine, go back and do history on Palestine. Because Palestine, progressive country. Our government has been involved in over 200 regime changes around the world, setting up puppet dictators. And I started seeing a trend in the 60s that I didn't like, okay? I grew up in San Francisco. Yeah, I had alternative ideas and thoughts. But what I'm seeing here is a trend towards fascism in this country.
Yes.
I'm sick of it. We didn't fight World War II, the only real justified war, if you want to consider wars. We had many conflicts. My two oldest brothers were in it. And I'm going to leave one little quote here. I'd like to see if the commissioners can tell me who the author was of it, or anyone in this room. This is a quote. "A lie told once is still a lie, but a lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth."
That was Goebbels.
Joseph Goebbels.
Goebbels, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, that is the end of our citizen comments. Thank you all for being here.
I must have signed the wrong roster, sir.
Okay, I got a hand back here before you spoke, so please come, ma'am.
I didn't see the.
Okay, that's fine. Come.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Esther Siderman, S-I-D-E-R-M-A-N, and I live in Coos Bay. I didn't even know the wind thing was going to be up today, but anyway. But I pretty much agree with a lot of the people about the keep the county clerk vote. I don't want to spend my tax money on private schools. I live right across the street from a very popular elementary school, and it's a great little school, and I want my tax monies to go to the public schools. They need them. And again, I don't think it's the territory of the county commissioners to be changing the voting rights or the mail-in ballots or anything about voting. I'd rather see my tax money that's supporting your positions going to more relevant county issues. And to me, the voting system's fine. I've lived in several states. I voted in person. I voted by mail when it first came up here. I was suspicious of it. I liked going to vote, but I was in a very easy place every time that I voted. I could take off work with no problem. I was transportation. I don't want to change that. Thank you for having the meeting. This is the first county board meeting I've been to, and I think I'll come to more. It's pretty interesting. It's exciting.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Patty Sorensen. That's E-N, not O-N. I live in Coquille. We moved here and bought a home in 2004, so we're in our 20 years. I am currently a precinct committee person. It doesn't matter which party. I'm an election official, and I have been most of my adult life. Previous to living here, I was the city clerk for over a decade, where I was the election official. I'm going to quote a man that I respected what he said, Bill Bradbury, our Secretary of State. In 1981, Oregon approved a test vote by mail for local elections. He later points out, that wasn't a quote, that was a fact, I apologize. But in his letter, these are his exact words. Oregon history with vote by mail has proven time and time again that the system raises voter participation, decreases cost, and increases the overall integrity of election process. That's it. It says it all for me.
All right. Is there anybody else who did not sign up who also would like to speak? Please come.
I think there's some online that may.
If there's anybody online who does want to speak, I see Marty has a hand raised. So we'll get to you next, Marty. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Marla Skukin. We live here in Coquille. My husband and I just moved here a couple months ago. Just a quick thing, kind of clear people up on school choice. People homeschool their kids not because always because of religious purposes. They want the best way that their kids can learn. Sometimes the public schools don't have the best way for certain kids to learn. Everybody learns differently. I had our kids in a public school. Teachers were fine. It was good then. But our kids were struggling. They're being called names. One just was too much of a busybody. So we made the decision to homeschool them. So we took them out. They were able to connect with people from young age to older age, not just in their age group. I got to teach them in the way I needed to. Our son I gave him, we did a lesson, I let him outside, run around, get rid of energy, brought him back in, because he was not one to sit for 6 hours in class. So it's not because we want money to go to teach religiously or something like that. You have to do what's best for the child. Sometimes public school isn't best for the child. Sometimes there's a different way, homeschool, private school, that will get to them better. And the whole thing is the kids. We want the kids to be able to learn the best way that's possible for them, so that they don't get left behind. That's just, my thought. So.
All right, thank you very much. First, we have an online commenter, Marty. Can we sound him up?
Okay, and I'm muted by microphone, so let me know if you can hear me.
We hear you, Marty.
Okay. So I just want to make a few quick comments. Marty Kurt, Bandon, Oregon.
There we go, thank you.
I just want to make a few quick comments. Julie Brady may be incorrect in saying you need an SEL 805 form. SEL 801s are used for advisory questions. SEL 805s are the ones where it has to be done in constitutional language, and it will change a law, or it'll change a tax, or it'll change a rule. This is none of the above. These are advisory measures. They do not change laws or rules or add taxes. These are simply questions for voters to give their opinions. Anyone that opposes adding these questions are actively trying to suppress your voice. And there's nothing more democratic than asking everyone what they think about a question, an advisory question. So the people that are trying to suppress this do not want your opinions to be heard. These are advisory questions, and essentially just get a feel for every voter that gets a ballot, that gets the mailed-in ballot. Every voter that gets a ballot will be able to answer this question. If you don't like the way the question is worded, vote no. If you like the way the question is voted or worded, vote yes. Essentially, it's as simple as that. Everybody is jumping the gun and saying this is going to change the laws, change the way things are done. No, it's asking for the voters' opinions. Every single voter that is registered to vote in Coos County will be able to give their opinion. There's nothing more democratic than that. So that's about all I have to say. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
My name's Tom Brown, Coos County, and I think the voting system is broken. I think the school system is broken. I think a lot of the systems are broken in. I mean, it would be nice to have a work session on this topic, so we can go a little further into it. More time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, is there anybody else who hasn't yet spoken? Seeing none? Thank you all for being here. We are adjourned. Ran out of buttons.